Happy Goku Day. I mean Mother's Day, all you fiction nerd fans. This is the Fiction Podcast 40. We are talking today about Jupiter's Legacy, the comic volume versus the show. As we said, it's Goku Day. I mean Mother's Day. So I hope you guys had a really great time celebrating our Lord and Savior Goku. I mean Mother.
Goku's the best mom. We all know it.
Well, actually, he's pretty terrible parent.
You know who isn't a terrible parent? Piccolo.
Piccolo. Yes, I am Brandon T. McClure, and with me, as always, is Ben Magnet.
Hello there.
Sparks Witty.
Isn't Goku kind of like the best mother? Because, like, yeah, he's not great at the one-on-one parenting, but he parented all of Earth.
Oh.
It's very protective.
Yeah. And then in kind, all the spirits gave back for the spirit bomb. So it's, so it's like nurture. Yeah, I see it.
You're right, Ryan Eliopoulos.
That's me. I'm making a bullshit as like.
All right. How's it going, everyone? This is another episode. We're doing it again.
Believe it or not.
I am once again in this, although less orange this time. I fixed my lighting.
Yes. Looks a little better, yeah.
You audio listeners probably don't give a shit. There is
We
a couple
can't
of
see you.
There's a couple of links in the description that I do want to bring up before we get into our week. Not many. Ryan didn't do a Downright Annoyed this week, and Ben did not put up a Old School Gamer.
No, I had other priorities, funny enough.
But there is a article from me on the Fickner Podcast website on my blog, Bitchin' About Nothing, where I talk about what we talked about last week with the Monsterverse, a new movie in the Monsterverse, kind of the potential of what a Kong franchise could look like in the Monsterverse as well. There's that's linked below, as well as my conversation episode with Derek McDuff from the Underrated podcast. We talked a lot about fandom there. It's kind of a blur. This has been a really big week. Hanging out with my parents feels like it's been 40 weeks. Anyway.
Man, I just remembered that like you guys talked about something I was going to bring up. I don't remember what it was.
Wasn't it John Carter?
No.
Because we talked about John Carter.
I know you did
talk about John Carter, yeah.
Oh, man. Ben, I'm so sorry. There should be a new link in the description, so people watching the replay and listening to the audio, the link will be there. It is Ben's Record All Monsters episode. Right? Record All Monsters? Kaiju Weekly. There's 40 Kaiju podcasts. Kaiju Weekly.
I was not on Record All Monsters. I was on Kaiju Weekly with Travis
Kaiju
and
Weekly.
I've never even heard of Record All Monsters, but that's a sick-ass podcast name.
Record All
Monsters.
Monsters. Cool Record All Monsters is an upcoming conversation episode, which is why it's in my brain.
Okay. So I do have a link in the description below. Sweet.
Yes, so there is Kaiju Weekly. Do you want to talk a bit about what you guys talked about? And don't spoil Gurren Lagann?
No, I was just about to say that. So, spoiler alert for the very end of Gurren Lagann. I sadly spoiled the most hype moment of the show while trying to convince Travis to watch the show. But luckily, that did convince him, and he did watch it and finish it, and he is now a Gurren Lagann fan. I converted him just like Brandon had converted me back in the day.
Sparks had converted me.
Oh.
Yep. So,
I was converted by another.
I converted myself.
Ew.
Converting yourself is tight.
I need an
Yeah. So we talked about giant robots. There's a lot of Gundam talk, quite a bit of Transformers talk in there as well. And it was all in all a really good time. I had a blast. Can't wait to go back on and talk to him about more about Mobile Suit Gundam, because the guys said that they're going to start checking out some Mobile Suit Gundam.
Nice.
And that makes me happy because Mobile Suit Gundam is awesome.
This whole month is a Fake Nerd takeover with Kaiju Weekly.
Yeah.
You were asked about a jumping on point for Gundam, and I was surprised you didn't bring up really the current series, which I imagine is because you haven't watched it.
Iron Blooded Orphans?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's there. I haven't. So Iron Blooded Orphans, I started. I watched like 3 episodes. So Iron Blooded Orphans is a little different from okay. So you have like air quotes here, regular Gundam shows with G Gundam and Gundam Build Fighters being the outliers, which are more tournament based, and the rest is like
G Gundam was sick.
Yeah, G Gundam's awesome. We did that as a book club a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But Iron Blooded Orphans, that's kind of like more with gun. I mean, yes, there is the Barbados Gundam, but that's more of like think Pacific Rim, but it's Gundam on Gundam.
No, I know. I'm vaguely aware of the premise. I know a lot of people have used that show as a gateway at this point because because it's the current show, but also that show has been received so well that has been a big opening door for people to go back because it's something you can just watch and it feels good because it's modern. It feels good because it's current, and then that has made other people. I know I've heard from a lot who have gone back and like, oh, now I want to know more about Gundam in the previous thing or the previous iteration, but a lot of people, Iron-Blooded Orphans has kind of been the gateway in.
Okay, I mean that's good. If
it's kind of like how Star Trek 09 was a gateway for a lot of people into Star Trek.
Okay, yeah. Funny enough, G Gundam was my gateway into Gundam. That was the show that was on. Yep. That's
Mag says mine was Gundam Wing when Toonami started. That's the only Gundam series. That and G Gundam are the only two Gundam series I have seen.
So you know what? My first Gundam was SD Gundam, which was the Chibi Gundams, and I thought that's what the whole universe was until I saw there were actually like regular like size people and like regular size robots, and I'm like, oh, this is even better because I thought it was some cute thing.
Dude, I totally forgot about SD Gundam.
Yeah,
I actually watched that show too.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a time. I had like 2 action figures for it too.
Yeah, tiny. Yeah.
Well, anyway, so that'll be linked below because that's up on their feed now. And Ryan, you're up next, right, with Evangelion?
Am I next or I guess
I think I'm last with Pacific Rim.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha. Then yeah, I'm coming up soon. Hot dog.
So guys, check us out on Kaiju Weekly. Also, Kaiju Weekly promised me a conversation, so take more with them soon.
There you go.
And then finally, the last thing linked below is the Fake Nerd Book Club audio series. Little Char in the Gang just started on the audio feed. Chapters 1 through 52 are up there right now. Find those linked below.
Amazing.
And that's that, guys. That's everything below. Who wants to go first of the week?
I'll do it.
Do it.
Because I didn't. I say this every week, so I'm going to try not to say it, but I didn't do a lot. But I play Fortnite a lot as much as I can now because I got a PS5 and it just looks good to play. I'm running out of good quests to do now. I'm at that point.
I literally have 1 purple quest.
Yeah,
it's chain. I don't have I have 3 in that chain, but that's it. That's all I have left now.
Yeah, I almost have my goal of what I wanted for this season is to get Raven, and she looks great. I'm almost there, so like the hard work's paid off.
You opened the door, so I want to talk about some Fortnite real quick. Fortnite, I want to talk about the Batman comic.
Yeah,
even though I haven't read it yet. I want to talk about the Batman
comic. The highest selling comic maybe of the past 10 years.
What a cluster F.
So I think what is incredibly fascinating is I can't think of a moment where this has really happened with video games before, where the comic came out on Wednesday, and the same day the comic came out, Tuesday, because it's DC. The comic came out, and the same day it came out, an update went to Fortnite, and the update added the shack bat cave that Batman builds in the issue onto the map. So the things that are happening in the comic are taking place into the game day and date same time.
Yeah.
As the release of the book. And that's why
they added new weapons this week.
Yes.
Like they keep adding new stuff like every single week, like when the comic comes out.
And like Fortnite's added things throughout a season. That's not new, but the fact that they are doing it to time with the story that they are telling through the comic is pretty insane. This is a video game equivalent of like going to see Captain America: The Winter Soldier, coming home, watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Like this is that happening with a video game, which is wild to me. And knowing that there's still 4 issues ahead, the last 2 will take place in the next season, whatever it is, which a lot of people, I think, rightly are assuming is going to be DC related because the Batman story is going to build and end at that point, is really, really interesting. And again, like I haven't read it. I'll have more to say when I get a chance to. But I know that they're really bringing the mechanics of the game to it. Batman is in the 22-minute time loop that Fortnite feels like.
It's a Groundhog
with
Day.
The storm stuff. He's doing that, and he can't talk because Fortnite characters don't talk. So Batman can't talk. This is really, really interesting. And the book is selling like crazy. I went to a Barnes & Noble because I was looking at something else. And in the comic section, they had little paper things that said Batman Fortnite comics are not sold here. You can pre-order the hardcover, but we don't sell the individual. I'm like, man, this is nuts. And I know at the comic stores, it's been nuts. That's a $15 hardcover pre-order, by the way. Yeah. 6 issues, $15, and you get the codes.
That's the cheapest hardcover ever.
This book is going to sell like gangbusters.
So it was so interesting going into the shop when this comic dropped, because because the day the comic dropped, Fortnite had an update that was like, hey, go to your local comic shop and buy this comic. So tons of people who play Fortnite go to their comic book store, but nobody at DC talked to any of the retailers to be like, hey, this is going to be a pretty big thing. So none of the retailers bought a lot of it. So most people got like 10 for the rack, and most of those went to subscribers.
And it's impossible to tell how popular it was going to be, because again, it's comic books, and you generally don't think comic books are like big selling things. But Fortnite really is like the biggest property on the planet. And it's not just the biggest property on the planet. It's the best crossover like system on the planet. Like it has every property that you could possibly want. Like Lara Croft fights the Predator, fights Batman, fights John Wick. Like it's stupid fun.
So Ryan and I were discussing it, and like the way this is going, I think this is the path to a Marvel DC book.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Fortnite, the comic is doing well. Fortnite provides the perfect plateau where Marvel versus DC is going to happen.
And they're not getting nobody writers. Like they're getting Jim Zub and Donny Cates to write these comic books. And like Jim Lee's doing the covers. Like they're putting effort into it.
Sorry, I had a thing for Amalgam. Because remember when Wendy's would tweet is like, so new Amalgam comics when?
Yeah,
oh God,
yeah.
But really
what if like Fortnite does like an Amalgam event?
Yeah.
How awesome would that be, where they put DC and Marvel characters in the fray? Because now
that's what like this season is kind of like. It's like Warner Brothers, the crossover.
Batman's fighting Snake Eyes right now.
That's like in the comic book.
In this comic. He's fighting Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
That's like
that's
like,
already happened.
That's fan fiction like bullshit brought to reality. Like Fortnite's like the only thing really that's giving us like real crossover shit. I mean, there's a comic called Crossover, I guess.
So there's a joke. So I just thought of this really bad joke. That is Wade Watson Ready Player 2 fan fiction, but done 10 times better.
It would be really interesting to see if this does lead to a Marvel versus DC, a Marvel DC crossover event. Even if it's not like framed within Fortnite, if it is just like there is this was kind of like the handshake deal that was just like, this is what we can build off of this. Because that has been such an anticipated rumor for so long that there should be another one.
And everyone knows that do it.
I know that NetherRealm, it was leaked that NetherRealm was working on a Marvel game that a lot of people think could be a DC versus Marvel game, which is unlikely.
I don't think it is. But man, they're making a Marvel game. That's crazy. Like you don't like Ed Boon is really bad about keeping secrets when they're leaked, and then he like starts going on Twitter is like, oh, crazy, working on 2 different properties. Who would do that? Like, you son of a bitch. I love it.
And but NetherRealm is owned in part by Warner Brothers, so it is entirely possible that we could see DC characters in that game too. Yeah, even if it's just skins, like we see Hellboy and Injustice. But I don't know. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think that I'm very pro the Batman Fortnite comic book at this point, because I love that they're incorporating what's happening as if it is happening within the context of the game. Mm-hmm. That you read the story and it's affecting what's happening in the world of the game, I think is really creative and cool and weird and different. I'm glad that it's so high in demand. Ryan's right. Fortnite is very big, especially with young people. I think this could be a gateway for people to get to comics. Yeah. More people to get to comics. And I think that both companies will kind of see how this is selling and realize that. And I certainly think Marvel's going to want to do another Fortnite thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, Fortnite provides the foundation where Marvel versus DC can happen so fluidly. They don't have to do a lot of explaining and like all this, like you literally can just toss the characters in and work with the story and then pull them back out, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's extremely functional for that space, and not just Marvel DC characters. Predator and Alien are in this. Like, you can bring a whole slew of things to the table.
Snake Eyes is owned by by IDW. So already there's an intercompany crossover happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is like, you know, where this is open, it's very interesting to think about how this could do, and I'm very happy that it's selling the way that it is. I'm very happy they're incorporating it the way that it is.
If in fact Fortnite is the gateway, I had to make sure about this guy's name. I really hope we see Axel Asher, who is Access. Access is the only character published by DC and Marvel that both company owns the copyrights to.
Oh.
He has only ever shown up in one book published by DC outside of a Marvel DC crossover event.
That's funny.
That'd be a sick deep cut.
He's the guy. Yeah.
I would love it.
God, he's like in the next.
I don't know, like, man, like the dedication that they bring to the table when they're doing some of these faithful comic stuff, like bringing the people who write the comics, like you were talking about, but like the way that these things are translated into the games, like these are huge nerds. It would not shock me if some really cool stuff happens. I'm all for like Fortnite being the potential way to revive a lot of comic industry stuff. I think that would be awesome. I'm really glad that that's out there. I encourage people that if you have even mild interest in this Batman Fortnite comic, and I'll probably say more about it once I actually get to sit down and put some time into reading it, pre-order that $15 hardcover, because that's a great deal no matter what it is. Make it sell. Get those codes. Go play some Fortnite.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I'm sorry. I totally glossed over that part. That has the codes for the skins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're not all skins, and I just want to be clear about that.
Okay.
So the second issue is the Batwing glider, which is actually available in the store right now. Because not everything is going to be exclusive. Only the armored Batman you get at the end is exclusive.
Okay.
So not all of them are skins, but if you put in the code for the Batwing glider and then you buy the Batman bundle after, you save money.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper. Yeah, so I'll probably have some spare codes to go around for some folks. But yeah, so we know it's a backlighter this week for this issue. The next issue is Catwoman's Grappler. That's going to go with a Catwoman bundle, so Catwoman's coming to the game.
Buying that.
And the rumor is that the fourth issue is going to be a Deathstroke skin.
Buying that.
Ooh,
on the show.
Sweet.
All right.
And the problem is, we're the last thing, like, Fortnite, like they put effort. Like all the skins are like the best looking like versions of the characters. Like Domino, like I love playing as Domino because it's like that's like what a Domino would look like, or a Poison Ivy, or like any of the Marvel characters, any of the DC characters. They're beautiful. Also, Keanu Reeves is in the game. That's cool. Halle Berry's in the game.
Some of the best character models in games you see anywhere. Like
the She-Hulk is like the best She-Hulk like ever made. Like for real. Like
it's wild.
Yeah. So I played a lot of that. I've been playing a lot of Avengers because that's a game. Not a lot to do, but they are updating it. So there is a Black Widow event happening right now because the movie was supposed to come out this week if it was originally coming out, but they didn't push the event. If you do a bunch of missions, then like you get like a Black Widow like name tag, and I'm like, okay, sure, I guess I'll play the game for that. You can buy the Red Room outfits. I thought I was going to be unlocking the outfits, but you're not. You have to buy the outfits. You're just unlocking a nameplate. So I'm like, wow, I kind of don't want to do this anymore. But the game looks great. I'm playing a superior Iron Man. Like, it's still so fun to play. That Wakanda stuff's happening soon, so like I'm still glad I'm playing that. Besides that, the last 2 weeks I've been watching a lot of Dragon's Den, which is the UK version of Shark Tank, but it's actually the original show because it started in like 2005. That's a show about inventors going to a bunch of rich people.
That's a much better name.
It is a much better name. Yeah, they're like, hello, dragons. I'm like, sharks are cool, but like dragons, come on. Fire.
Funny, Ryan, you bringing that up. I actually saw a clip from Dragon's Den on 9gag the other day. It was this guy who was who pitched his idea, because he was saying like, look, people are taking your data. You can either like block it and not have anyone take your data, or you can earn money from it. And he got like this one dragon to be like, do the straight up offer that he came in and is like, look, I'm asking for this and this. He's like, sure, I'll do it.
Hell yeah. That's really cool. Like the bad offers were like the dragons like get like mean and like yell and like they're funny, but also like the really inspiring ones are like really great. We're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna make you a millionaire, and I'd also like to be a millionaire. So let's make history. And I'm like, oh, this is like exciting. And then like you look up the history of some of these products, and they're actually really successful products and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's cool sometimes. So this week, actually, a lot of my week was spent kind of sad, and it's because 3 of the 4 original members of GiantBomb.com left the website. And this is a website that's been around since 2010. But before that, these are guys that all worked at GameSpot since the early 2000s. So for me and a lot of people on the internet, I've spent literally half my life consuming entertainment by these guys almost every single day since I was a teenager, right? So these guys were in their 20s and now they're in their 40s. They were kids and now they have kids and they're all older, and like the pandemic really messed them all up because they all had to work from home. And it's a thing where it's hard to talk about because it's like what if like the MCU just stopped making movies? It's not something you think about. It's just like these are guys who have been in my life more than any other thing in my life in terms of entertainment. There are podcasts that I listen to multiple times a week because I have 3 different podcasts. They're a weekly live show. They're video game videos, and they're video reviewers and essays, and like they're the best people in video games journalism. It's where Austin Walker and Patrick Klepek come from. Waypoint wouldn't be what it is without Giant Bomb, and they're really like the pioneers of video game journalism. And it was just really cool. And it was really sad to see these guys be like, I've done this for like almost 20 years. And like, I feel bad leaving to like raise a family. Cause like so many people rely on us for like doing this stuff. And it's like, it's just so interesting to grow up with people and see them just like get old. And it's just really, really, really fascinating. And it's never happened to me in terms of anything like this. Again, it's like, I guess it's like a Robert Downey Jr. leaving, Iron Man. It's like, oh, like I don't know the guy, but I feel connected to this guy. I've spent tens of thousands of hours listening and watching these guys, and it's like 3 of the 4 of them are leaving now, and it's like, man, that's a part of my life that's just going to be gone. Yeah. And it's like all week again because they released 3 different podcasts where they talk about it, and I'm like, wow, it's going to be an interesting next week because a staple of my life that's been there since I was 14 is not going to be there anymore. And it was a really reflective week, and how much I love that company and how much it meant to so many people and how foundational they were for video game journalism and how it evolved. Because it's crazy to think about, but like long form video reviews and like Let's Plays didn't exist 10 years ago. I know it's hard to believe, but like these were the guys who created this shit. And it's just really cool to see like a legacy like kind of end. And it's like one of the final lines that Jeff Gerstmann, the founder, said was like, man, like I guess some things don't last forever. And that really sucks. Yeah, and because they've been friends for like 20 years. And I'm like, oh, wow, the next week's going to be rough, I think. And a lot of people on the internet express that love. Yeah. And it's Giant Bomb's the best video game website that will ever exist. And like the personalities and the realness, and like they are so anti-corporate bullshit. Like I like IGN, I like GameSpot, but there is always a bit of corporate stuff behind them that's just always kind of icky. Whereas these guys will tell you, yo, this game sucks and we don't care who hears it. So there's to Giant Bomb. I love them. It's great. Next week's going to be weird not hearing the same podcast that I have since I was a kid.
It's really interesting where we're in this, age of a new kind of social celebrity who they are accessible. They are people who you will, some cases, spend weeks with every single week, being aware of them, interacting with them on the internet and all that, especially when they're really popular and everything. And it's bizarre to think about when that will come to an end, your social relationship. I mean, and that's not really true. Like these guys are still going to be on Twitter. Like if you're following them, you can still follow them. You can still interact with them, like things they like. But it is interesting when it like becomes that. And we're going to see in the next 10 years even more of that, where like these people who like their home base is established on the internet, who they are is very accessible, very present, very known, and watching that relationship, at least the dynamic as it has existed, end is interesting. And like what wild to think about, like not that we have a following like Giant Bomb, but like what it'll be like when most of us are, this is it, this is the time, this is done, and that chapter just ends is very fascinating. It's something that I don't think like we've fully understood how impactful that is for a lot of people, because it hasn't started happening in major waves yet. Internet celebrity. It's very, very true. Like when YouTubers like start retiring and stuff like that's going to be kind of weird, because like, oh man, we're definitely getting older, man.
It's crazy. That's what it was. It was me, I think, just realizing, oh, I'm really getting older, because I was a teenager when I was listening to these guys, and now they all have children and they have gray hair, and I'm like getting old, and I'm like, oh wow, it's crazy.
You know, it's especially like, you know, the popular ones, the really like big channels, because like, but there are many YouTube channels and YouTube celebrities that can just kind of like, they have their day in the sun and then they go into obscurity and then we don't know what happened to them again. But this is something else entirely.
It really is the modern version of when you know, like what our parents probably had, which is, you know, if they had a regular news channel that they tuned into, they had the regular anchor that they were used to, that they liked. And this is Jon Stewart stopping the Daily Show. 100%. You know, but in our generations, like real effective, impactful, like that's what this is. This is that kind of like, oh, that's done. This thing that ran for like a big chunk of my life that's over.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. To add to this, it kind of, words, use them. It kind of reminds me when Vin Scully announced his retirement from the Dodgers. I know it's a sports thing, but he was announcing almost every single Dodger game since 1954. Yeah, he's been with the Dodgers since they were in Brooklyn and they moved to LA. He's been with 2016 or 17 when he announced his retirement. Everyone was like, "This is weird." Like, don't get me wrong, we like the new guy who took his place, but still, it's like he's been the voice in our living room for over 50 years.
It'd be similar to when Craig Ferguson retired, or when Trebek passed away, but Sajak on Wheel of Fortune, if he retired.
Letterman for some generations. But I think the thing that's so interesting about it is because it is this internet celebrity, there's a different kind of connectivity because you are able to directly, especially if you were there in the early days when, you know, before they're big, they're very responsive to you.
Like they have live, like every podcast that they do and every live show they do have a chat. And like, I can't even tell you how many hours of chat rooms I've been in, like with their live shows and like the community, and like it's just like it's like the next generation is going to happen, and it's like, wow, man, it's like
because it's being connected into them and being connected into the community that is part of them with yourself, and that doesn't happen in all those examples that we're saying. It's like, and that's the part that's really fascinating. It's not that we're in that new era of these people who you are able to have a direct relationship with.
Yeah, and it's not like a 30-minute show every week. It's 10 hours of content spread throughout every week. Right. Yeah. I'm not exaggerating. Like I consumed like a dozen hours of these guys every week, probably since I was a kid. Like it's so crazy to me that this era is like over. It's never, again, being in the internet, like nothing like this has happened yet because it's not old enough to happen. Right. And these guys have been around since like Jeff Gerstmann, the founder of the company, has been in GameSpot since like 1999. Like, that dude's like, he's older and like he's still the one at the company because he's Mr. Video Games. But man, like it's also very exciting to see who the next generation is, because again, like Austin Walker and Patrick Klepek, who are much younger than them, but like are the next generation of great journalists. So it is very exciting for the future. But man, it's like the end of a 15-year era is over, man. It's just it's wild. Yeah, and that was my week, just reminiscing about all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Sparks, since you're on the same screen?
Sure, I'll mine as well. I don't have a lot, but I'm probably going to embellish on some of what I got. So
just like me.
I did a lot of schoolwork. Things are ramping into final projects. I'm now behind. I'm basically ahead of the worst of it now because I really only have one major thing to think about at this point, which is great. But this week was kind of the hell of getting to that point. So I didn't have a lot of downtime, and what downtime I did, I usually was giving to Megan. There was a little bit here and there where I could work on an assignment, and I didn't need to put a lot of attention to it. And during that time, I was doing catch up on the CW shows. I didn't get super far, but just a little further because I'm not all the way there yet. Legends is back, and I haven't even touched the new season yet. Black Lightning's also ending soon, which is a bummer in its own way. I watched Vivi, another episode. It's the closest that it's come to convincing me I want to keep watching it. And I'll say that about this last episode. It's not bad. It's just other anime have grabbed me better. There is nothing that I could tell you is like, this show is bad. Like, I'm having trouble engaging with the protagonist. I find the world and the concept interesting, but the main character is hard for me to latch into. It's not caring about, it's like understanding enough about. So that's where the struggle is. But this last episode was certainly like the most interesting because we got a whole lot of new concept stuff, and it showed the greatest potential so far of what the show could be. So I'm still kind of biding my time with that. I spent a little bit of time on May 4th to watch The Force Awakens from its nap, which is the new Maggie Simpson short for Star Wars, which is cute. It's fun. It's totally harmless, and I think has the most important thing it can have, which is basically there's this part. Did anyone else watch this?
I didn't even know it came out.
Okay. So there's basically this part where it's, I forget the name of the baby, but the baby that Maggie is always a rival with is like Darth Mauled up, and it looks like they kill Maggie, and then BB-8 goes to investigate, and then Maggie emerges with like Yoda ears and like a lot of force power, and BB-8 kind of has this expression that turns into a question mark, which is basically like, why is this even happening? What is this? And then Maggie's like, hold on, and then it cues the Star Wars like scroll, and it basically just says in big letters, Star Wars rules. Like everything's just cool about Star Wars, and it lists like 3 major reasons Star Wars is dope. And then it just ends on the beautiful sunset with her and BB-8. And I'm like, okay, fair point. Like they do just a lot of fun Star Wars gags, and I'm like, this is pretty good. This is just saying, hey, Star Wars is pretty great, and we got the opportunity to do some cool Star Wars visual gags. Everybody likes Star Wars. Like, calm down.
Baby,
like,
baby,
this didn't have to have a greater purpose or mean anything, and I thought that was kind of nice.
Is Gerald the rival baby's
Pretty
name?
sure that's the name of the baby. Yeah.
Thank you, Mag. I watched a lot of Schitt's Creek because when I had downtime with Megan, that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to watch Schitt's Creek, so we've gotten pretty deep into that. We're in season 4. It's a fun show. I recommend it. It's definitely engaging and worthwhile. I like it. It's got good humor. It's got probably the best use of Chris Elliott, I think, ever. And I say that because this is probably one of the only things I think he's ever been allowed to be non-eccentric and just feel like he's goofy, but not in anything that doesn't feel like a person.
Yeah, okay.
Like he feels like a real dude.
He usually is like
Which
wild.
Chris Elliott is usually forced into being his character actor self and very eccentric, even on How I Met Your Mother. That was the case.
Take my strong hand.
But here he just
from
feels
The Holiday, right? He's
Chris,
in The Holiday?
No. You're thinking of the guy who plays David.
Oh,
I know him from There's Something About Mary.
Chris Elliott is Lily Aldrin's dad on How I Met Your Mother. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Scary Movie 2?
If you
he's the guy with the small hand.
Guy with the bad hand.
Right.
Yeah, so he's a character actor, and he's usually
that kind of guy,
like blown out of proportion, silly. Here, he just feels like
Walter from the Muppets.
Is he the voice of Walter?
Yes, he's the voice of Walter from the Muppets.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Amazing. Good for him.
Learn something new every day. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, but like it's just nice to see him get to do that. I recommend Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek is a pretty easy to like watch show and keep up with. So I didn't have any time for Pokemon Snap this week. Couldn't make any time to get back to it, which is fine.
It'll be there.
Pokemon Snap requires me to like actually want to engage with it visually. But you know what doesn't? Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu I can play while I'm watching something like Schitt's Creek, no problem. So I probably put like a good 10 hours into Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu this week, my friends.
There you go.
How many badges do you have?
This is,
How many badges do you have?
4.
Okay.
My friends, I am definitely in a Pokemon-assance. I have taken people down with me.
I felt it.
More than one person in my life has re-picked up Pokemon Go because of me right now. And I can't tell you, this is like my last thing to talk about, so I can't tell you exactly what the reason is. I think it's some combination of this. We read Little Char and the Gang, and I was like, oh yeah, Pokemon. That's pretty neat.
Pikachu.
And then I watched Detective Pikachu again, and I'm like, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pokemon's pretty neat.
It is.
And then Pokemon Snap came out, and I wasn't originally even going to get it the week that it came out. But I had the money to spend on it because of gift cards, and I'm like, you know what? Pokemon Snap it is. I want that nostalgia trip. Give me that drug. And I'm just in full-blown, yeah, Pokemon, time to catch them all. Time to do what I never did, which is finish a Pokemon game.
Gotta catch them all.
Any Pokemon game, because I've never done it. I've never finished them.
Any of them?
Not a one.
Hot dog.
So now it's time. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying having the opportunity to do something like Let's Go Pikachu while I'm watching Schitt's Creek, to be engaging with it on some level, to have Snap sitting there, to be thinking about what else I'm going to do with it. It's a nice place to be that's scratching some very specific itch that Lil Char and the gang definitely started.
To extrapolate on Spark's Pokesance, he even met. It was a bit of a trip. I was at work and I get a text message from just him. It wasn't the thread of, "Hey Ben, what Pokemon games do you have?" I'm like, this is interesting. So I give him a list of all the Pokemon games I currently own, or at least thought I own, because it turns out I don't own Diamond anymore, which breaks my heart. And I send it to him, and then he's like, "Cool. Well, next time you go out to Frankensons, if you're game hunting, look for these games." And they're all games that I have the opposite of. And I'm thinking, huh. And I thought maybe I don't know why he's looking for these. And then I start talking to him a bit more. He's like, "Yeah, I want to get through these, and I want to maybe trade." I'm like, yay! It's like that meme from Leo DiCaprio in Django where he goes, "You will?"
Real quickly, I'm so sorry. This guy looks a lot like Christopher Elliott, though.
It's not
No.
Walter. Okay,
No, it's Peter Linz.
That's like on the same level as me with the Ezra Miller thing that happened in our Invincible episode, where I'm like, yo, I'm pretty impressed with Ezra Miller right now.
Not anymore.
This is definitely a guy. Look, in my head, they look identical, so I apologize.
I believe you.
Bro, I totally get it. I appreciate you looking it up. I will say that I'm very aware in this moment that Pokemon is tied to something else that's happening with me, where I can't put my finger on it, but I'm just very much in a like, I can just catch up on the things I consume, the things I've put off and always wanted to do. And I need to make time for those things, because I keep saying like, eventually I'm going to do the dive on X or Y or whatever it is, not referring to Pokemon specifically, though I can see how you would think that. I very much want to do that. And so Pokemon has kind of become part of that. It's not something where I'm going to go like hard immediately all through it.
I'll tell you what, because
I need Miles.
Well, not just that, but if you play like 6 Pokemon games in a row, you'll very quickly realize, oh wow, these are all the same.
These are all the same game, yeah.
And you'll get bored.
I am certain it will be spaced out. I'm certain I'm just riding a high at this moment.
Yeah.
But it's a high I want to ride for a while. But you can't see it, but Miles is sitting right here because I really desperately wanted to get to it this week, and I just didn't have the time. But this coming week, I'm sitting down for some Miles Morales. Let me tell you what. But it's also like in the back of my head, it's Star Trek, it's Gundam, it's these other things where I'm like, oh, I need to really actually commit to investing the time to do these things.
Perhaps maybe Voltron.
I feel like I have to rewatch
That's fair.
everything at this point. Maybe not season 1. I think I remember season 1 pretty well. Yes, I do want to re-engage with Voltron. I let that slip a little too far away from me.
Sliptron.
But that's my week. I'm very much in a Pokemon moment, and I'm very happy to watch other people go down in flames with me.
Go down with me.
Yeah.
Or better yet, I challenge you to a Pokemon battle.
I put Megan has picked up Pokemon Go again. She's also started playing Cafe Mix on her Switch. And it's a matter of time before she's playing Snap.
Oh, real quick, who's your team? Who's your lineup?
Valor, is Valor red?
Yeah. Team Valor all the way.
No, I'm sorry. In Eevee, Pikachu, Pokemon.
Oh,
wait,
who do I have?
Yeah, who's your fighting team? Who's your fighting squad?
Oh, man, I swap around a lot because I've got a lot of strong levels and I base it around types. But my strongest are Pikachu, and then Venusaur. My Mew is pretty strong.
You can get a Mew that early?
Pokeball plus controller.
Oh, it's a cheat! It's a cheat!
Actually, no, that's right, because I think I have Mew too, but we just never used them. Because I gave Fanny for Christmas the Pokemon Plus controller. So
nice.
I have a very powerful Arcanine and a very powerful Sand Slash. Because Sandshrew and Sand Slash are two of my favorites.
I think I'm gonna wait when that. What's it called? Like a super sexy diamond. What's it called?
Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
I'm definitely gonna get that one.
I prefer Ryan's title, actually.
Super sexy diamond.
Yes.
I think that's the one I'm a plunge on.
That's part of the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be through something to jump onto that bandwagon.
I feel you.
No, actually, now that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are coming out, that makes me happy. So I could get Diamond and not get the original DS game, which I now can vividly remember the day I sold, along with my silver version cartridge, because the save battery died in that.
Well,
damn.
Well, if the save thing doesn't work, then it's useless.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can get it fixed now, but I didn't know that back then.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Ben, you want to go next?
Yeah, I will definitely go next. So my week was a combination of stuff that I was watching a whole bunch of stuff because we have do we have announced the new Fake Nerds Watch, or do we not say it?
Yeah, it's coming up this week. Invincible season 1 is the Fake Nerds Watch special.
Yeah,
I thought for a second, wait, there's another one? What are we talking about?
So I binged the rest of Invincible. Holy crap, that's an amazing show. All my thoughts on that show, but it was awesome. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning one day watching it, just like trying to get to one more episode. And also I was preparing because Fanny and I are now official cat parents. We have a fur baby. If you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I'm just flooding my my pages with pictures of Suki. My timeline, thank you. I'm flooding my timeline with pictures of Suki. She is freaking adorable. So yeah. Yesterday was her first full day here at the house, and I was trying to be in the same room with her and make sure she's cool and comfortable because she's a kitten, she's young, she's in new surroundings, she's like skittish. So I took that time to catch up on some of my comic books. I didn't get through a whole chunk, but I did catch up on Sonic the Hedgehog, and I finished Marnius Calgar. God damn it, Ryan! I think I want to play the game now.
You're officially ahead of me, my man. I got to catch up. I forgot comics existed. That's great. Warhammer is way too expensive, so I'll get you in some video games before we get into some tabletops.
Well, I saw you had someone got you a set of the army of
myself. I bought it.
Oh, you bought that? Okay, yeah. I remember you posted that, and I'm like, the Emperor is pleased.
Yeah,
and now I just need to get the opposite army of you now.
I only bought 3 figures because they're very expensive. And I already broke off one of the little pieces because it's very hard to put together for your first time. But I painted it and it looks kind of shitty, but it's my first time, so whatevs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm
glad you're on the Warhammer train though. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I want to start getting into Warhammer a little bit more. I love Marnius Calgar. I love that book. I'm just reading this. I'm like, damn it, Ryan, you freaking got me.
It's just a cool universe. It sells.
Yeah. So now every time I see something, I'm like, someone's talking mad heresy and hammer distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm not fully engrossed in Warhammer, but the memes are starting to make a little bit more sense now, which makes me laugh. So besides catching up on some of my comic books, I also played a little bit more of Metroid Samus Returns for my 3DS, and I absolutely love that game, although I'm in a one spot that's a little difficult. I can't figure it out because I killed a Metroid, and then I realized I was stuck in a room that had lava on both sides of me, and I don't have a suit that repels lava damage. So I have to go out one way is like the way out, but I die every time I get to a certain point, and I just try to backtrack the long way. Guess what? You still die. So I had to kill my game and start my last save, which was right before I killed the Metroid. So it's like, damn, there goes that idea.
Well, now you know, and knowing's half the battle.
Anyways, Metroid Samus Returns, awesome. I also recorded a new episode of Basement Arcade Pause Menu with my buddy Todd the Top Loader. He's on YouTube. Go ahead and check him out. He is an awesome dude all the way from Australia. That was fun to try to coordinate schedules. It was like 3 o'clock where he was, and it was 9 o'clock here when we were recording. Amazing. Yeah, and we talked about video game collecting. That episode will hopefully be up this Friday. If it doesn't, it'll come up the Friday after. It was a great conversation. I had a blast. And he challenged me that after I'm done playing Metroid Samus Returns, he challenged me to play A Link to the Past because I've never played Link to the Past. And one of my favorite Legend of Zelda games is A Link Between Worlds, which is a spiritual successor.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that you have a blind spot there.
Yeah. I have a blind spot with a lot of Zelda games. I never played Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons, and those are some amazing games from what I've heard. But I finally played Link's Awakening now. I finally played Link's Awakening. I beat Link's Awakening. It was a Switch version, but I did beat it, and I did play it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll tell the Zelda Council. Don't worry.
Yeah. And just one last little tidbit. So I went and saw my mom today, and we just went through some of her stuff. And also, she gave me this ring, which belonged to my great-grandfather on my dad's side. Apparently, my grandmother wanted to pass this down to me, and it's now finally in my possession. This was his wedding ring, so I kind of now have a family heirloom. Which is funny because
keep it secret, keep it safe.
Yes, I am. And also, it's funny because he had a tiny finger, and this only fits my pinky.
You know who else might have tiny fingers?
Hobbits.
Well, anyway. For you audio listeners, Ben lifted up the actual ring. He showed it. So
it looks like the ring of power.
It's just a gold. It's just a standard gold wedding band. It's nothing's too special. But it belonged to my great grandfather, not my great. It belonged to it belonged to a family member that another family member wanted me to have. So I now have it, and I'm like, this is a nice little piece of my family history. I'm glad I have it now.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
My turn.
And also, I have a cat. She's adorable. I'm done.
Okay. All right. I started watching a YouTube channel called Random Hands, and I just want to shout out to that YouTube channel, which is about a guy who gets old rusted pieces of metal, be it rusted bolts or rusted bearings or train tracks, and he turns them into swords and knives, and one time a lighter, katanas and Viking swords. He also restores things, and it's been really calming. Because there's no audio. The only audio is the dude's like tools, and it's just kind of nice to sit there and just watch this dude like sand some metal.
Blacksmith ASMR.
Yeah, it's been really nice. We're subscribed to it now, so sorry. I'm gonna watch more.
Nice.
It's like that one guy who restores video game consoles. Have you guys seen those videos where a guy like restores a video game, like a completely busted or dirty video game console, and restores it to full working capacity?
I loved Brandon's response though, where he's just like, "No, I'm a fake nerd." Excuse me.
I watched a blacksmith.
I watch blacksmith ASMR. Excuse you, I'm a man.
Working on NES, not for me.
It's just
really in a cartridge. Get out of here.
It's just been really soothing. Like, you know, he puts he saws them down and like makes the puts them in vices and like does woodworking to make like katana handles. I'm like, this is really soothing. I'm into this.
For you.
I also watched a movie in the movie theater. We went to our local movie theater. It's a Century Cinemas for those of you who care. And we watched a movie with Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish. I don't know if you guys have heard about this movie, but it's called Here Today.
Nope.
Anybody heard of this movie?
I heard about Billy Crystal talking about this movie.
Oh, let's not.
Oh, I didn't see that. It's perfectly serviceable.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. I saw like 3 seconds of a trailer and then hit the skip button on my
mom said that the trailer was so funny, was super hilarious. And the only thing I have seen about the movie was an Instagram ad that had Billy Crystal and Tiffany Haddish say, "Hey, we're doing a movie, go see it in theaters." And that was it, with no clips for the movie.
Advertising.
So wow, this looks really funny. I don't understand what this is. It's about a dude who has dementia. It's about Billy Crystal, who's an aging comic who has dementia. And he's losing his mind while his family pushes away from him. And Tiffany Haddish kind of becomes his like friend and caregiver. It's very sad and competently made and utterly forgettable.
Cool.
So, you know, there you go.
So,
rousing endorsement.
What's it called? Here Today?
Here Today, yeah.
So he was gone tomorrow.
Rip. Sorry, Billy.
You know what?
I mean, after that interview, he was to some people.
What? Yeah. What did he say? He said that like, comedy's a minefield.
Yes.
Yeah,
he
I can see that.
he called comedy a minefield, and he's like, I understand it, but I also think it's wrong. And I'm like, cool, man. I mean, you don't really get to decide what offends people.
Yeah. I always like when an old comedian does that and everyone's like, John Mulaney.
That's so nice.
I started reading since the TV show is over. I started reading the Invincible Compendium, Volume 1. Invincible has 3 compendiums that collect about 48 issues each. It's
like
a
weightlift with that thing.
Yeah. I was kind of worried about it being like inaccessibly large to read because I do find omnibus books to be inaccessible a lot of the time. But the softcover format of the compendiums does counteract the problems that an omnibus has, so you are able to like spread it open and read the pages. So I'm not having any trouble with that. I'm really happy to just find out. I'm only about a third in, which means I've just read issue 17 of 47. It's very good. I really like it. Robert Kirkman is a writer who never really connected with me. I was not into The Walking Dead. I really never read the comic. Watched the show for a bit. I read Outcast. I liked Outcast. I didn't love Outcast. I read Oblivion Song. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So like he's kind of a writer who's just kind of like has had a hard time. I've had a hard time connecting with Invincible from the get-go, and maybe it's because I love the show so much, but I was hooked. I love it. It's kind of like with Kieran Gillen with Once and Future. Go away. So I got bugs.
Yeah, same here.
So really like it. I just finished. I think I'm almost done with the plot lines that are in season 1, but there's still a couple that are missing. So we'll see how far I get.
I watched a Robert Kirkman interview with Kevin Smith, and it's not a good interview on Kevin Smith's end. Thank God Mark Menardin's there because all Kevin Smith does is just like say how rich he is and it's just like he's a bad interviewer now, especially because he's like I love marijuana, but that dude's high literally all the time, also during interviews, and he makes for poor interviews. And he's like, so Robert, if they canceled season 2 and they decided to make a live action, who would you cast? And like those kind of questions, and I was like, man, that's wild. But the thing about Robert Kirkman, that was a long way to get there. Sorry. He's so humble and he's so nice. And yeah, he's like the richest dude on the planet. But like him talking about like he was like 23 years old when he wrote The Walking Dead and Invincible back to back. Those comics came out 6 months apart from each other. And that dude was like, I wasn't concerned about long form storytelling. I was concerned about paying my rent. And that's not him saying like he didn't have a good time, but like he wasn't thinking of the end goal as he was writing the first like year of those comics. And now I'm just thinking like where those empires have both gone. And that dude's just really talented. And that dude, like under pressure, he works really well. And he's like, he kind of does that to himself. He always puts himself under pressure to make things the best that he can be. When like he kind of doesn't have to, but like we're all procrastinators, and that it turns things into diamonds, right? It's a good interview on his end. I think you should watch it. Everyone here and listening to the podcast. Robert Kirkman's a good guy.
I also read because I'm not picking up new comics for the month since I'm away from my home, from where I live. I'm away from my comic book store, so I'm just going through the back catalog. But before I came home, I came to my parents' place. I did pick up Robin #1, so I read that this week as well.
Oh, I want it so bad.
By Joshua Williamson. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And the artist, who I'm there for the artist. I don't even care about who's writing it.
I apologize. I don't know what off.
Glenn Menkeloff.
Glenn Menkeloff, thank you. It's Joshua Williamson kind of became an unsung hero of the New 52 with the Flash run. No pun intended. The Flash run, kind of as it was ending, everyone was kind of like,
hey, Rebirth.
The Rebirth, thank you. Because Francis Manapul did New 52. Yeah. For Rebirth Flash, as it was ending, a lot of people started talking about like, hey, this has been like solid throughout. It was kind of the unsung gem of the Rebirth era.
I regret not staying with that book.
Me too. I do intend to go back, but so I've been really interested in what he'd do next, and apparently he's always wanted to write Damian Wayne, and it shows. There's a lot of love for Damian, who is my favorite Robin in this book. I really like Patrick Gleason's run on Batman and Robin, where he wrote Damian. So I'm kind of hoping there's going to be some characters show up, like nobody. But solid first issue, one of the best first issues of the Infinite Frontier line so far, I think. And the ending is shocking. I was very rarely have I been shocked by the end of a comic book, but this one I was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, Gleb is an up and coming artist. He's really, really funny on Twitter. You guys should follow him on Twitter if you don't. He's really no nonsense, kind of dark, silly. But yeah, like his art's like a very unique style that like I don't see very many people draw like him. So like I'm always gravitated toward his work, and like this is his first like actual ongoing. I just haven't been to the store, but like I'm glad people are responding to it.
He's got a really cool design for Robin that I really like. Real quickly, I'm going to look something up so I don't have egg on my face this time. Thank you.
Eggs. Yum 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 eggs.
I hope that's right. Okay. I also read DC's Dead Planet by Tom Taylor, and I hope Trevor Hairsine.
Harrison? Yeah, Hairsine. Yeah. Hey, guess what? The book is good.
I've been waiting for the hardcovers because I have the hardcovers for the first 2 volumes, Unkillables and DC's, and they're doing the thing I love, where the hardcovers are all uniform and they got the same like design and they look good together. DC's Dead Planet rules. I didn't expect it to surpass the first book so easily. There are some character beats that were enhanced because I read Unkillables, which has Cassandra Cain and Jason Todd and Gordon. That's their book. They have that little 3-issue spinoff. So like having some of those characters pay off, it just reinforces my idea that Tom Taylor is the perfect voice for John Kent, especially. He's got a great voice for that character.
That's why I'm so stoked for that new book. Like this is the book that sold me on his new book.
Me too. Even without reading it, I was sold on it because I just knew.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really loved it. More than I loved the first book. It's kind of everything you'll want in a DC comic, especially with legacy heroes.
Yeah. I reiterate what you said. Yeah. The thing he does with Constantine in this book is so crazy.
So cool.
It's nothing. It's such a character, not like a shift. It's just something that like, man, Constantine really will do whatever it takes to save the world. And it's just really, really exciting to see when it's an Elseworld story, that could mean whatever it wants. And like, as you read, Brandon, like it's extreme. It's very extreme.
The things he's able to do such unique things with, man, what happens to Diana in the first issue, Wonder Woman, is so out of left field that you just didn't think it was going to happen. There's so many interesting takes with Scott Free, with Kid Flash. Wallace West gets some play in this book. Harley and Ivy are really good in this book. Swamp Thing's in this book. Dr. Fate, Phantom Stranger. So many cool. He's just able to pull some really cool places that these characters could go in, and characters that you don't necessarily see often in the DC universe. Really, there's a really cool scene with the Spectre that I won't spoil, but it's awesome. I really loved it. He's playing very coy about a 3rd deceased volume. I guess it would be a 5th actually, because Hope at World's End is coming soon. But like a sequel to Dead Planet, I don't see how he doesn't do a sequel to Dead Planet.
Yeah, especially because it's critically done well and it's financially done well. And again, like I remember when this was first announced, like the very, very first one, it's like it's DC zombie book. I'm like, do we really need this? Yeah. Any idea can be great. Any idea can be great. Yeah.
There are places that this book doesn't finish, that you're just like, yeah, we can, let's go. Let's have a 3rd one. So now the 2 biggest things that I did to wrap up, I've watched all 5 episodes of Superman and Lois on HBO Max.
Nice.
It is available on HBO Max, commercial free. It rules.
Welcome to the party.
We weren't lying.
Yeah, I really like it. There's some really cool stuff with these characters, such as Sam Lane has a really cool character arc so far. It's just the first 5 episodes. I do have some gripes of like having watched Crisis, especially, and the show being wholly uninterested in dealing with the fact that Clark Kent went from having a newborn son to twin teenagers in a day.
It's important to emphasize, I think, to you, because you're not watching the other shows, that none of the shows are really big on referencing anything related to each other right now because of the pandemic. Sure. Like nobody knew when they were going to air when they were making the episodes, so nobody was comfortable saying the state of wider things for a while. So that's definitely a factor. on all of them. So certainly on Superman and Lois, especially because Superman and Lois is the new show on the block.
Yeah. The cinematography, as we saw in the trailers, definitely is really unique to something that I've ever seen on the CW. It does kind of feel like it's a show that belongs on HBO Max.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to adapt Superman with kids, because Jonathan Kent is John Kent's name only. And giving him twins is obviously, moving him to Smallville, it's all very different. I'm really impressed with how they have been able to handle it. And it's such a unique take, even to comics, for the Superman.
Yes. Yeah. I think they've done a lot of really cool stuff with it. Now you've seen, and I love the bit when he catches the bridge above the fisherman.
Oh, yeah, he waves.
But there's like all the aspects to it, which is that he realizes he still has paint on him, and also he realizes he's still just holding it up with one. He's like, oh, what a moment.
I mean, Tyler Hoechlin keeps proving that he is such a good Superman.
Yeah. For real. Like, I love that guy. Like, I'm so glad the wait is only, what, a month?
End of this month, yeah.
Oh, it's a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That's even better.
I look forward to watching it as it airs. I'm really happy I watched these episodes.
I'm glad that you jumped on that one, because I think it's really great. I think they did an excellent job with the opening, just establishing the tone of what the show was, the callback that everyone's talked about. Like, it just really emphasizes a whole other side to what Hoechlin has been able to do as Superman, that he definitely was bringing like a lot to the table in the previous appearances, but they've allowed him to really just run with the role so well.
Yeah.
Here.
In a funny way, because, you know, like, obviously people love Superman for how human he is, but like, Superman is a big blockbuster character who he flies into space and he beats up big bad guys. But having the CW restraint of the budget, it allows him to just be a human being, which is really nice, where he is just hanging out on a farm with his kids for most of the episode. And that's really something, like you said, like, we really don't get to see that very often.
I think something that the show has done extremely well is that I do truly feel like he is Dad Clark Kent first and Superman second on the show.
Yeah.
As far as the show's priorities. And that isn't common. And it's really nice to see.
Yeah.
I really like how they're handling Jordan.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really respectful way to handle like someone with anxiety, and then what happens in the show with that character later on, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Also, they do something really interesting that I don't mind talking about, but they have a kind of a subplot of like, what happens to Metropolis if Superman isn't flying around all the time?
Yeah, that's a cool concept of yeah. You're right.
I thought that was really. I thought that was like when Sam Lane comes in and says that, I'm like, oh shit, yeah. What does happen to Metropolis if Superman's just not there?
Some of the best Sam Lane material in anything ever.
Yeah.
100% agree. And then I powered through and I finished Young Justice season 3.
Hot dog.
Boy, guys, maybe we were better off not getting a third.
What happened, guys? Because, like, man, the world was so hyped. We were hyped for it. It comes out. We watch 1 or 2 episodes. Nobody talks about it ever again.
No, and a 4th season is coming.
Is it actually? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was so mad that Young Justice got canceled when I finally watched the end of season 2, and then
everyone was.
And then it comes back, and I'm like, I couldn't be more excited about it, and then I don't watch it. I haven't seen a single episode of episode 3, and hearing Brandon talk about it, I was like, maybe I don't want to see episode.
Much like Sparks, I had a similar moment of like, I could just catch up on things that I've been just putting off, and one of them was Young Justice, because now that it was on HBO Max, I really didn't have an excuse, because I was like, well, I love the first 2 seasons. I don't really hear anybody talking about it.
It's bizarre because it's not like season 3 is any longer than previous seasons. I mean, it is longer than season 2. Season 2 was 20 episodes, but the first season was also 26, and season 3 is 26. And it's like, you clearly knew how to handle that at some point.
The plot that they choose for the show does not need to be 26 episodes, and it is such a chore to get through so many episodes that just do nothing. The budget constraints are painfully obvious. McGann and Connor don't speak when they're together. They just they telepathically talk.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I'm like, okay, come on. So there's a lot of that. They also have half the voice cast because they couldn't get everyone back. They got obviously the main cast back, but now the main cast is not just pulling double duty; they're pulling triple, quadruple duty. There was an episode where Phil Lamar was 6 characters in one scene.
Oh no, Phil!
Oh, no.
Too good.
And Phil Lamar's a great voice actor, but after a while, you start to hear him in the same voice.
Yeah.
The guy who probably plays the most is the guy who plays Aqualad, who forgive me, I don't recall. But Phil Lamar's Metron. That's a pretty good voice. Metron shows up in this season. And speaking of Aquaman, the Aqualad, they make him gay, which was kind of nice. Finally able to kind of have that representation. Harper Row, Bluebird from Batman Eternal, she shows up in this season, and that was kind of cool. Being like, I like Harper Row. She doesn't show up in the comics anymore.
I also like Harper Row. Scott Snyder created her, and then they whoopsies.
Yeah, she showed up. She's just been gone in for a long time, actually. Yeah. But she shows up. The biggest problem though is it doesn't need to be. It needs to be 13 episodes. It doesn't need to introduce so many characters that you're not going to go back to, like Red Hood, who they are like, who is that Master Ra's al Ghul? No one. Gone for the rest of the season.
Oh no.
Barbara Gordon is Oracle, and I don't mind the time skips, but you also don't need to be so edgy. Some of the most egregious things happen in the show, such as brutally murdering a character named Halo, who was a DC Comics character who was a woman of Muslim descent. They do some trans allegory stuff that I think is pretty deftly handled, but many fight sequences, the middle of it, she is killed in a bloody and gross way because part of her power is that she can come back from the dead.
Interesting that the show is like getting edgy when like they have Titans, which is like the epitome of that. Which again, like if it's doing its own thing, that's fine.
They did come at the same time.
Okay.
Both of those things, so they might have thought that that's the direction.
Yeah.
Or been told that's the direction you have to go.
That sucks.
It kind of feels like they wanted to do like the jump from Samurai Jack season 1 through 4 to season 5, but they don't handle it in the best way. Because Young Justice doesn't need to be so edgy. Maybe sometimes network interference is a good thing.
I think that there's definitely a lot to say about that because Young Justice season 3 and Titans were tied to each other with their release.
Yeah.
They were definitely aiming for the same, because this was also back when it was the DC Universe app.
Yeah, like Swamp Thing and stuff. Yeah.
And so like the you were playing to the same audience, so you were hoping that like the consistency was what would land with people. So Young Justice was made to appeal to the same audience that got the FU Batman Robin of Titans.
You'd think that like the FU Batman and Swamp Thing would be for that crowd, but then you can also get like the younger crowd with Young Justice, so you get everybody. But like, okay,
yeah.
I don't think that they anticipated that at all, that they had a younger crowd. Honestly,
Weird.
on that app, I think that
it's called Young Justice.
I think that they worked under an assumption that the people who have this are people who can afford to buy it themselves. These aren't parents buying a subscription service,
I guess, yeah,
for their kids to be able to access the DC Universe exclusive.
And it
shows.
still is like,
especially not with the majority of the content being mature.
Yeah, and it still is like, this is like Snyder like era, right? So like,
I mean, like we were spilling out of it, but like that was when like they were. I don't think that was the driving initiative of like we're trying to tie in with Snyder because they dropped Just Whedon's Justice League right before that. So I don't think that's necessarily what was driving it, but it certainly was like there was an idea we need to be this kind of bring this kind of maturity to all of the properties that we make going forward.
It just feels so forced because you have, like I mentioned, Samurai Jack. Season 5 of Samurai Jack is very brutal, but it's clear that that's kind of what Genndy Tartakovsky always wanted to do. That Genndy put a lot of passion, put the same amount of passion into Season 5 that he did 1 through 4. It feels like Greg Weisman, I think is the showrunner for the show. It feels like someone, or maybe he thought it was a good idea to just be like, and in this scene, Nightwing should say F, and then Halo gets stabbed by Lobo in a really gross way, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe, that was like the DC Universe like mantra is like a little bit darker.
Yeah.
I mean, even just going from the Doom Patrol episode of Titans to the Doom Patrol show, like,
it's not even the same.
There's a dourness to the characters in Titans that, like, even though like they have sad, tragic backgrounds, is not permeating the tone of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that reminds me. Sorry, Greg Sipes. Okay, so interestingly, there's a Doom Patrol Go sequence in the in Young Justice, where it's the Doom Patrol characters voiced by the Teen Titans Go character voice actors, because Beast Boy plays a larger role, and it's really, like I mentioned, there's half the voice cast, so they brought in Greg Sipes, who is the voice actor for Beast Boy and Teen Titans Go. He now plays Beast Boy in Young Justice, where he didn't in season 2, 1 and 2. So that was kind of jarring that now he's just Beast Boy forever.
Mm-hmm. That kind of bums me out, because, to be honest, I found it refreshing to have a different voice actor attached to Beast Boy on Young Justice, because the Beast Boys felt different.
Mm-hmm. He's toning it down, and they were.
I'm sure he is, because like what he does on those shows wouldn't work here.
Yeah, but it's really weird to hear that voice coming out of him, out of that character. Yeah, I'll watch season 4. I hope it's shorter. Because I probably could have gotten through a 13 episode season pretty easily.
Yeah.
I think that's all I want to say about that one. Okay, so should we get into
shame. That's
it? Really is. Should we get into our bread and butter?
Yum 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 yum. Let's do it.
1 second. By the way, these cookies are terrible.
Oh, Hershey chocolate chippies?
Hershey Chips Ahoy's.
I definitely want to talk about, just make a brief note about some sad news, which is the passing of Jimmy Rich. I don't know if you guys saw this. I imagine, at least Brandon, I'm sure you did. This was Robert Downey Jr.'s assistant.
Mm-hmm.
That's who that was. Okay.
He was in a car accident. He was 52 years old, and he died this week. Robert Downey Jr. has posted a lot about him. He was like an uncle to his kids. This guy was his assistant starting in 2003 on Singing Detective. He was a huge part of Robert Downey Jr. getting through his recovery.
Oh, that's nice.
And his rehab. And he has honored him very much in his passing. But there's a lot of people from Marvel Studios talking about this guy, because he was just so influentially there, and important and integral. And I think, we wouldn't have Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man in a sense without this guy.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to have had him taken out so young. And I find it extraordinarily human and touching how Robert Downey Jr. is being very vulnerable and honest about how important this person was to him. That he's known for over 20 years. I just think that's really nice to see someone like him expressing that. But it's also really nice to shine a value on those kind of people that can be the under the line jobs who don't get a lot of attention usually from celebrity status. That this is a person who meant a lot to him. Was his assistant on everything since Singing Detective. It's really, really sad. So I just want to spotlight that, because that's actually like one of those unsung heroes who is in some ways responsible for the MCU.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject in a handbrake turn. I remember one last thing I wanted to mention about Young Justice, which was that the show still continues to handle legacy very well. Such as Barbara Gordon was first introduced in season 1. Season 2, she's Batgirl. Season 3, now she's Oracle. Aqualad has now become Aquaman. It's really cool. It's really cool to see the characters grow in almost real time and create and become new identities.
That's what I'm about. I love it.
Oh, spoiler is now Batgirl, so on and so forth.
Spoilers.
Okay. Speaking of comic book adaptations, though, Stargirl has been renewed for season 3. Cool.
Huzzah!
Cool.
People like that show. Good for them.
I still haven't seen the rest of season 1. Probably going to watch that this week.
There you go.
5 episodes from the end.
I've debated going back to it, but I don't know if it'll happen.
I was. If I recall, I was probably the most positive on it on the show.
Yeah, you definitely were.
Okay, and The Flash, keeping it in the Arrowverse, Tom Cavanaugh and Carlos Valdez have announced that they are exiting the series after season 7.
So that show's ending soon, right?
Nope.
I mean, it should.
Not for another year.
No, but soon is a year. This sounds like, we booked a ticket.
I do have a hard time believing Grant Gustin sticks around past his contracted season 8.
Mm-hmm.
But I also would not be surprised if they find some way to continue Flash somewhere.
Sure. Sure. But like, as someone who hasn't watched that show in a while, if you're telling me that those two guys are leaving, that does not make me want to watch that show.
Yeah.
Especially Tom Cavanaugh, who's been on that show since the beginning and played multiple characters. Big part of the Arrowverse, Tom Cavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he was supposed to leave at the end of last season, but the pandemic made him alter the plans for his exit.
Oh, okay.
But he's been pretty upfront about that and just wanting to move on. I am not surprised, nor do I blame Valdez for wanting to leave. They have pretty much run his character into the ground for the past 3 seasons. I haven't cared much for Cisco, and I don't blame him for not wanting to play Cisco, because Cisco's kind of in a loop of just doing basically the same things over and over.
He's just vibing
without developing.
God, he was vibe before that phrase became like popular.
They gave him the worst kind of story about him giving up his powers, and then a few episodes after he decided to give up his powers, he immediately built technology that did the exact same things his powers did. And I'm like, what?
Fake force drama.
What are
Yeah, that's awful. That's my least favorite thing.
And I know we were all wondering, now that Impulse is being introduced as Barry Allen's son, what is going to happen to XS, his daughter? She will return. Jessica Parker Kennedy will return as Nora West Allen in the 150th episode, which will also introduce Bart.
Yeah, they've actually already been filming that this week. There's pictures of them all together.
Yo, that Bart outfit looks
real good.
Man.
I know why you said that. No one was wondering what was going to happen to her, because she's technically dead.
She dies.
Well, I know. I was just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Batwoman. Some Batwoman news. Morgan Cohen has been cast as Stephanie Brown. Spoiler. She will show up in an upcoming episode where Ryan Wilder, Batwoman herself, will be going after the Clue Master.
Cool. Clue Master is like a cool guy. He was the Batman Eternal villain or something, right?
He's kind of a joke, but they lean into the joke. But spoiler is his daughter.
Yep.
Which is why they're connected. Looks okay. The picture they showed us.
Oh, is that Victor's his daughter?
It's got some what's the writing?
She got the alphabet on her or something.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't look at the picture.
Bro, that show could be whatever it is. Like Cassandra Cain is not the Cassandra Cain from the comics in Birds of Prey. So but this does not make me want to watch that show anymore.
I want Stephanie Brown, but I don't want to you to butcher her. I really like Stephanie Brown as a character.
It's not what's the word? It doesn't make me want to watch the show. That's all I could say. I'm sorry.
Sparks, what were you trying to say?
Batwoman's probably in the most interesting place currently where I'm at watching it. It's probably in the most interesting place it's been, honestly, since it started, which is kind of nice. It's definitely still got flaws, but I at least feel like it's doing something that truly feels fresh at this point.
Right.
Now we're kind of past all the establishing the new Batwoman, dealing with Kate Kane stuff. The Kate stuff it's still there, it's still coming, it's still in the background, but all the characters aren't focusing on it anymore because they've all accepted that she's dead. They don't know that, so obviously that'll come back, that she's alive, so that'll come back around. But they're moving forward, and that's taking us into fresh new territory that feels
until
nice.
That new actress comes in.
She's already in. You're just they're just not encountering her. You have seen her in a couple of scenes, but they don't know where she is or that she's alive, and neither does she know that she's Kate King. But they're doing new and different things that feel nice. I'll say that. Certainly feels better to watch that than it does to watch The Flash right now, because I just like Grant Gustin brings 110% every week, and I just feel bad that like no one else does.
Aw.
That's not fair. Danielle Panabaker is also bringing 110%.
Frosty?
Yeah. She's doing some fun stuff because Frost and her separated.
Yeah.
And now they're two separate beings,
Ooh.
which is nice.
Oh. Does she get paid double now?
Nope.
No.
But it's hard to watch like the material not live up to what Grant Gustin's bringing to the table.
Sure. Anybody read Lady Killer?
I read the first issue because it was Joelle Jones, and I love her.
Lady Killer has been greenlit to be a film adaptation on Netflix.
Cool.
And they have attached Blake Lively to star.
Cool. That's rules.
Yeah, it's going to be written by Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno, Jennifer's Body, and the upcoming Powerpuff TV series on the CW.
Cool. This is it's about like a 1950s housewife who's also like the world's greatest assassin or whatever. So like it's like really cool, like conflicting, like, you know, like she's making dinner for her husband and then she goes out and murders some fools. So like it could be like it's like a cool dark comedy. Again, I read the first issue. Cool. I like Blake Lively. Give her more stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a one-side Mr. and Mrs. Smith sort of thing, right?
Sure. Yeah, just a hitman undercover kind of situation, but like 1950s, you know. Yeah.
All right. I like period pieces. I might give that a watch.
Red Sonja is still getting that remake, the new adaptation, and they've now cast the lead actress, the Red Sonja herself, Hannah John Kamen, who played Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp, will play the titular character in this new adaptation.
All right. Nice.
I like that actress. I don't have an attachment to the source material.
Yeah. I've read like maybe one Red Sonja comic by Gail Simone because I really like Gail Simone. She's you know, kind of like a Lady Conan, not to be reductive, but like give me a cool reason to watch it and I'll watch it. You know.
Yeah. She's been published by Dynamite for the past like decade and a half or something. So you know, take that how you will. But she Marvel Comics
She's also had some like gross stuff attached to it, right? This past year with the Red Sonja releases from Dynamite.
Ooh, I actually don't know.
I remember hearing a thing about that. I don't need to look it up and go into it now, but like I think there's something weird there.
The new film already has a director. Hold on, I misspelled Joey. I wanted to see what else they've done. Joey Soloway, who was the creator of Transparent.
Oh, okay. The TV show. Okay.
Yeah. They are. I think it's they them pronouns. They are directing this film adaptation and writing it alongside Tasha Huo, who is currently the showrunner for the new Tomb Raider anime that Netflix is doing.
Cool.
Okay, no, Red Sonja was fine. It was Gail Simone using Red Sonja to leverage against being disappointed in Dynamite and supporting Comicsgate writers on other titles.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those properties where like, give me a good version of it, and I'll maybe invest into it. You know, there hasn't been anything that really has popped out at me throughout the years, especially the comics, because that's where she only lives right now, is in the comics.
The original movie had not Conan the Barbarian.
No, Arnold's in it though.
But he's not playing Conan. But he's top billed. It's really funny.
Yeah, he's not Conan, but
he's Conan.
But we know.
He's Conan.
Oh, we all know.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of people don't know that he's not, because you just see the poster and he's Conan.
And they never say his name, so you just yep, there he is.
Superman news happened this week. So whatever Warner Bros. Is doing with Superman, we've heard about the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman movie up until now. Now we know that they are looking for a black actor and a black director for the film. THR is reporting that it is not part of the DCEU, so it is not replacing Henry Cavill's Superman. Going to be like the Batman or Joker, and it's apparently one of the scripts, one of the drafts floating about is a period piece set in the 20th century.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know. Have too much. I've read like one Val Zod comic, or because I know a lot of people are worried that they're just gonna like replace Henry Cavill with like just making Clark black, and like I don't think that's what they're gonna do. There are multiple black Supermans that they can choose from, but
they
I don't
did say
really have the history.
they did say this is Kal-El, so it does look like they're
they did.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
so it does look like they are race swapping Clark Kent.
That's not what you do. That's not how you do it.
Okay, so Superman of Earth 23, is his Kryptonian name?
His Kryptonian name is Kal-El, spelled differently. So it could be just THR not knowing that. And this is a Calvin Ellis book, which is the Superman of Earth 23. This is clearly not going to be Val Zod, which is unfortunate because he's a cool character too. Or it could just be accurate and they are race swapping Clark Kent.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll see more information. I'd hope they wouldn't just take Superman and make him black, because that's not. There are other black Supermen you can actually do instead of just race swapping this guy.
There's definitely been a lot of Twitter discussion because of that, where people have been saying like, it's just the same way that no one wants an originally black character to be changed to be a white character. White characters shouldn't be shifted into just being black characters automatically. You should develop the character, redevelop them top to bottom, because the experience would be different. That can apply to both modern and then especially to a period piece. So I hope that that's not what happens.
Right. Marvel Cinematic Universe posted a trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, they posted a thing that's like, hey, we're going back to the movies, guys. It revealed some new release dates. Some of these we knew, but one of the big things is that we got our first look of Eternals. It's a couple of clips, but there it is.
I wouldn't even call it a first look. I would call it a blink and you miss. Because like you blink and you miss that Angelina Jolie was even on screen. You see a fast guy. Cool.
It looks grand. There's some big set pieces in some of those quick shots that I'm really into.
I definitely am not crazy about the marketing method of. This is not the way I like to see the first look at a film.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer a teaser trailer, and then if you drop something like this, that's fine. I was disappointed that a teaser trailer for Eternals didn't just drop.
Let me tell you
the same time or before.
Why people were like losing their minds, and I'm like, if you would have not told me this was an Eternals trailer, there's nothing special about this trailer. It's just a bunch of pictures of dudes. Like it's just like a close up of Angelina Jolie and Buff. What's his name? Kumail Nanjiani. So I'm like. It's like cool. They're announcing that the Eternals. Like I would rather just gotten a trailer, like personally, because like you just showed me what they look like. I know what they look like. Like I thought it was. I mean, you're cool.
I mean, Brandon's got the right point. Like I did like visually what it looks like they're doing with the location shots is cool.
Sure,
I'm excited about that, but it's definitely not the way I like to get my first glimpse at a film. I don't like that tiny noodle stuff.
I thought we were gonna get a trailer for like. I mean, I'm sure we were gonna get a trailer for Shang-Chi.
You mean Eternals?
Sorry, with Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And the big thing about this is that we got some new release dates, some new title reveals. So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, March 25th next year, then followed by Thor: Love and Thunder on May 6th, and Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever title reveal will be out July 8th of that same year. And then after that, the Marvels. So Captain Marvel 2 has been retitled The Marvels. Because we know that Miss Marvel and Teyonah Parris will be in the movie.
You know who else I think there's one more Marvel that we're missing, Brandon?
Oh yeah, the rumor is the Blue Marvel's going to show up.
I mean, it's like you didn't show the aerospace engineer, and you got a movie called The Marvels. He's a Blue Marvel. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I like that character. But that's going to be November 11th of that year. So 4 movies from Marvel Studios that year.
Hot dog.
And it appears maybe 5 for the year after.
Oh yeah. So we got then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for February 17th of that year, of 2023. Sorry, so the next year. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, 2023, and then they said the Fantastic Four without a date,
which is probably the furthest.
But
I would say.
But I would also assume Captain America 4 that year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I would assume Spider-Man 4 that year because Spider-Man's come out every 2 years. And I don't think they're going to break that streak.
Oh yeah, they also
And,
announced Spider-Man Far From Home in December, right?
That's in 2021. That's this year.
That's this year. I'm talking about Spider-Man 4.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the fourth one will be 2 years from this year.
It's always 2
So that
years.
would mean that there's probably 5 Marvel movies that year because of Spider-Man.
And then all the TV shows.
And we also know that Blade's heading into production soon.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's which probably looks like a 2023 release because they're filming 2022.
Yep. So that's why I think we've got 5 Marvel movies that year.
That'd be crazy.
Fake Nerds Watch will live forever.
Wait, with Spider-Man, that makes 6, doesn't it?
I don't know that Fantastic Four will actually be a 2023 film, but I could be wrong about Captain America 4 being that year. It could be the year after.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. We all know. Look, now that they've kind of showed us, we didn't really know what the Marvel's release date was going to be for a long time. Captain Marvel 2. This is what we all suspected. Like, we're not done. We're not even close to the end of Phase 4. Even by 2023, I think we're halfway there.
Living on a prayer.
If even that.
Yeah, it's crazy how big Phase 4 is already.
It makes me
bigger than any other phase.
Curious if like that Fantastic Four tease is like the final movie in Phase 4 is Fantastic Four.
Maybe that's the big culmination movie.
Yeah.
And then kind of a surprise.
Since he brought that up, I definitely think it's interesting that the 4 logo looks like the Avengers logo. The way that they frame it, it looks like the way they frame the MCU logo. And I'm like, I don't think that's a mistake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had real quick, Brandon. Then you had the people jokingly turning the 4 and turning it sideways, and it turns into an X, and they're like, "You guys see it?"
Like, or the ones that put like the Captain America shield behind it, and it's like, was this the whole time?
Yeah, or Mephisto. I saw a Mephisto one. It's all good.
And then a kind of a surprise. Tom Hiddleston surprised us all by saying that Loki has been moved up to June 9th, not June 11th. It will now premiere the first Disney Plus series to premiere on Wednesdays.
Hot dog. Wednesday is the new Friday. He said it himself.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if that means they're going to stagger. Sorry, my bathroom door just opened. I do wonder if they're going to start staggering the Disney Plus releases.
I wonder if it's just because Bad Batch is what that's what it is.
This is something I always suspected was going to happen. Is I'm like, either Marvel's always going to own Fridays, or they're going to have to move.
Yeah. They don't mind sharing.
And I think that they have confidence that whenever they drop Marvel, people will watch it.
100%.
And anything else they have less faith in, so they drop it on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Marvel, though, the trial of Magneto has been announced. We now know what Leah Williams and Valerio Schiti's comic, Reign of X comic is. It is the trial of Magneto.
We were all wrong.
Yeah, we all thought Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
I mean, what did he do?
About Scarlet Witch.
You never know.
That's true.
Yeah, this is a getting John Romita Jr. to do the cover. It's a callback to Uncanny.
That's what he does.
Yeah, it's Uncanny X-Men 200, which is the original trial of Magneto, where humanity puts Magneto on trial for his war crimes, and then hilarity ensues. Obviously, it's interesting because where Magneto's at right now in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a villain or not, like on Krakoa, like mutants have they're all clean slated. So it's very curious. Like,
what if he offers himself up for Wanda?
Oh, he hates Wanda though. He wouldn't do that.
What if there's something that happens where he's like takes full responsibility for her? Maybe not even because he likes her, but he's like, I'm to blame for treating her as a daughter, for putting her in the position of the ability to have taken more of us.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like,
I don't think Magneto will, considering the way he talks about Scarlet Witch, I don't think he will be the one to take the blame because he's very anti his own daughter. He doesn't really think it's his daughter anymore.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, considering like the bullshit human stuff. But yeah, like it's really up in the air. Like, honestly, it could just be something where like it's issue 1, he does something which puts him on trial, which is what it could be. It's such an interesting landscape. It could be anything.
it's really interesting to be looking down the barrel of this when just within this last year you had that one where it was the Empire issue where it's like Magneto the hero, and just juxtaposing those against each other, and that's why I'm like, it's got to be big, and I'm like, what's the biggest thing it could be? And I'm like, if he in any way took responsibility or defended Wanda to someone, that would be a big no to the community.
It would, but like that just. There's a lot of work that had to be done to even get there. Because right now he's literally the guy who's she's the pretender.
No, I get you. For sure.
Yeah.
Muppets surprised us with an announcement from Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Love it.
Coming Disney Plus. There was a fun little bit with Rizzo and Gonzo announcing it. But that's all we know so far.
Whoa. Who?
Man, I'm so used to Rizzo being next to Gonzo. It's Pepe.
Yeah. It's been Pepe next to Gonzo for a while.
Haunted Mansion.
I don't like that. I'm gonna hear for the Rizzo racial.
Look, I agree. I miss the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern act of Gonzo and Rizzo, which made more sense. But they made it Pepe ever since Muppets in Space.
Haunted Mansion.
But I agree. But it was cute. I definitely hope this is better than the recent Muppets Now show.
Me too.
Haunted Mansion.
But it's cool.
Ben, what do you think about this?
I haven't seen a trailer for it. I just saw Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Trailer.
All it is a cute thing of Gonzo and Pepe announcing it. But the concept is that we're getting a Halloween Muppet special, which is the first ever Halloween Muppet special.
Heck yeah.
That I have to assume they filmed inside the Haunted Mansion, at least part of it, during the pandemic.
I hope so.
Nice.
That'd be fun.
So this should be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm gonna skip this one. Alan Moore was in the news this week for the first time in a long time.
Hell yeah, baby.
He has signed a huge deal with Bloomsbury. It's a publishing company in London who's responsible for the Harry Potter franchise. He'll publish 2 projects for them right away. First, one called The Illuminations, or just Illuminations, sorry, which is just a collection of 50 stories. That'll come out in 2022. And then a 5-volume series titled Long London will start in 2024. And we got a little bit of a blurb. We'll travel throughout the titular British city with its shell-shocked and unraveled estate in 1949 to a version of London just beyond our knowledge, which features murder, magic, and madness.
This is...
I'm pretty sure we're aware of it, but...
Not in this universe. I'm the resident Alan Moore guy. The last comic that he put out that I read was Providence, which was like 5 or 6. I say that it's probably way longer because I've been reading comics too long. But Providence, which is like a quasi Lovecraftian English story.
Date it related to your nose ring.
Actually, probably around the same time.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Good job, Sparks. This is really exciting because like he's an older gentleman now. He's in his 60s now, and he doesn't put out as much stuff. But like, he put out a novel that had like 1 million words in it. Like, the dude is still prolific, and like the fact that he's coming back with like this George R. Martin-esque like sized IP that he really has faith in, and he's really like excited about it. Makes me excited because that dude to me is the greatest comic book writer of all time. Like, that dude he writes poetry every time he types. Like,
I don't want to jump too far ahead into our topic, but now that I think about it, I wish Alan Moore had written the concept of Jupiter's Legacy.
Oh God, he would destroy it. My God.
Because that's what he does is what I actually want that book to do.
You're so right.
We'll get there.
You're right.
I just want to prime that up.
No, you're 100% right. Oh, that's
too good.
It's too good. Yeah. These are books, right? The volumes are books, not comics,
yes.
Brandon? Yeah. I don't read as many books as I should. And definitely Alan Moore writes longer books than I ever want to read. But I'm very excited because this is a dude that I really love and respect. So like, if he's excited about it, then I'm excited about it
for sure.
Yeah. And then having dog problems, I apologize. Dragon Ball Super. Got a bit of news for Goku Day. Dragon Ball Super new movie is coming out in 2022.
Yeah, this was interesting because this got leaked. That it was going to get announced on Goku Day on the Toei Animation site. So everyone's like, so that's definitely for real. And then Toriyama came out and acknowledged it, and he's like, yeah, it's definitely for real. We're announcing that on And so everybody kind of thought we were going to get a teaser, like the first teaser for Broly, which didn't show a lot, but just got you primed. We didn't get that. We just got the yes, it's coming out 2022. But there is the blurb that Toriyama decided to put out himself, which talks about unexpected character appearance. And that he's, putting the same kind of work in this that he put into Broly. And Ryan and I did some speculating last night, and I want to throw it to you guys because I'm curious. Who do you think the unexpected character may be?
I don't know.
Majin Buu?
Majin Buu's in the franchise anyway.
No, it's like Evil Buu.
But he's reincarnated as Oob, so
Cell?
Could be Cell.
See, I thought that too, but I'm like, I know that, first off, I don't think that's unexpected in the sense that I know the fandom wants Cell back. Right. I even want Cell back because I love Cell, but at the same time, I'm like, I think it's best left alone. I feel like anything to do with Cell at this point would just ruin him. I'm already mad about any time they've tried to bring him back in like GT and stuff, and that just utterly destroyed.
You mean when him and Frieza resurrected like Hitler and all the Nazis?
Now that being said, Toriyama behind it, like I'll be like, I don't give a shit. Like you do it if you got the idea, but I find it hard to believe itself. I'll put my pitch in. I think that he had such a good time reinventing Broly in the way that he wanted to. He's going to go back and reinvent another movie character who's really popular, Cooler.
Don't you do this to me. Don't you put this curse on me.
Yeah, that's what I said. Because Cooler's the best.
I think it would make a lot of sense. You've got Frieza on the table again. Cooler is also a character he designed.
Developed that whole family.
He designed that transformation. You can bring Broly back. You can put the Saiyans at odds with them.
King Cold.
I think it makes a lot of sense. So to me, that is like top tier unexpected character, Cooler.
Yeah,
that is a lot better of my pick because I thought I was like, hey, let's just do something out of left field and bring back Raditz and just have it get.
I also joked because like
that'd be wild.
Like I want Raditz to come back.
Raditz is such a joke.
Yeah,
he's basically villain Yamcha.
Yeah,
in the Dragon Ball universe. So
just like
redeem himself.
No, just like bring back Raditz and have just Goku's like, oh, that's what that hair comes from. Like, what do you mean? And he just goes Super Saiyan 3 just for the fun of it, and Raditz goes, what?
I want to imagine like Raditz has like spent like the last 30 years. Like nobody knows because nobody's cared what Raditz has been doing, and he's just been developing power, and somehow he's like now the strongest person. He's One Punch Man, but we don't know how it happened, and we just got to beat Raditz now. And he's like, what are you gonna do? Double Sunday.
That would be wild. That definitely would be unexpected.
I would love it.
I'm definitely way into the idea of him doing with Cooler what he did with Broly and bringing his personal shine to it. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Cooler's the dopest.
I like Cooler. I like Cooler a lot more than I like Raditz.
Cooler's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking, it's like, man, that'd just be funny if they just brought Raditz back for like a one-off gag. That'd be funny.
Not even a one-off gag, but not even like I was thinking like not even Raditz is like a villain or a gag. It's just he's helping.
Yeah,
I really, really hope we get Broly back in this movie.
Me too.
Yeah,
I feel like we have to.
Chile Lima.
This times out now that we know the movie's released. This will time out to probably be about the time where the current manga story will reach its end, ish. Or at least it's intended to be after it. So that's like 2 arcs of story that have happened since Broly, according to the manga, and I'd be really interested to see Broly come back again after that kind of stuff. This also means that when this movie comes out, we are likely seeing a Vegeta on the path of working on his God of Destruction abilities, which I'm way into.
Oh yeah,
that'd be really cool.
Man, I need to get that movie on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't seen it since we saw it in theaters, and I'm like, man, Broly was good.
Sometimes I just watch scenes from that movie. Yeah. I just am like, remind me. Oh yeah, this is the best. I'm so glad we have a release date, guys. I'm so pumped. I am ready for stuff to come out to show us.
We're like a year away from it, maybe. Yeah.
Give me that Dragon Ball.
Okay, sorry. There's a whole thing happening around me.
That's okay.
Okay, trailer talk.
Tea time. Cool. Tea talk.
Blink once if you're being held against your will. Leverage. Leverage redemption.
Yo.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Go ahead, Brent.
No, I checked. It said do not watch. I watched it anyway. What the hell?
Oh, was there a trailer that we didn't watch that was bad?
No. It's I said don't watch it on the note because I want to talk about it because I'm the only person that watches this show.
Oh.
It's called Leverage Redemption. It's a revival.
Was it the Leverage show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is where Aldous Hodge, who's going to be in Black Adam, and was in the Invisible Man. This is one of the things that made him really prominent and famous. I didn't know this was being made. This came out. It's IMDb TV. Is doing this revival, but they got him back. They got almost all the cast back. The only person they didn't get back is Timothy Hutton, and apparently it was on purpose because of his sexual abuse allegations.
Oh,
against
Timothy!
Him. Yeah, but they got the entire cast to come back, and I really enjoyed that show. You can watch that show if you have Amazon Prime. It's all on there. It's actually a pretty competently well-made TNT show, and the cast is really fun. I just didn't know that they were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. It's bizarre. I can't believe that they felt there was enough of a interest to do it, but they did it.
IMDb thought so.
I'm pumped and surprised.
Right on.
I just wanted to talk about it because it came out I just saw it on YouTube and I'm like, what is this?
It's like Psych getting like a movie or something.
Yes.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. It just really threw me, and I'm a big fan of that series. So.
Cool.
Yeah. Georgetown. Apparently, this came out last week. We missed it. Christoph Waltz is directing this.
Yeah, this is his first major directorial experience. He did one other small thing like 20 years ago. But this is his first major directorial debut.
Quirky.
I'm super intrigued by the real story of what happened with this. And it's clearly something that Christoph Waltz has a real strong interest in wanting to do.
Yeah.
To want to direct this. I hope it's good. I really just want to spotlight it because I'm like, I think it's so weird that Christoph Waltz wanted to direct this very interesting, weird, real story.
It's about an eccentric man who marries like a rich lady, like maybe to like steal her like inheritance, like Lex Luthor style. But he's also like a weird like con man who wears eye patches sometimes, and it just seems like weird and kooky. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Okay,
yeah,
I'll watch it.
Did you want to say something, Beth? You were looking up to the air for some inspiration.
I thought someone was calling me to help with the cat. That's why.
Rugrats. We finally got a full trailer for the new Paramount Plus Rugrats TV series.
It seems charming. You are never going to make me like this animation over the original.
Oh yeah.
Both because I love 2D and I kind of love the messiness of the style that Rugrats had. Rugrats didn't look like any other cartoon, and no cartoon has looked like Rugrats since. It had a style all its own, and turning it into 3D has lost some of that charm.
I will agree, but argue this also has a weird art style upon its own, because these are some ugly kids, and I love it.
I mean, yes, they definitely maintain their character models. I just mean, like, you know, the basic animation that's designed in is no different from the SpongeBob show that they're putting on the same network.
Sure, yeah.
Like the Camp Coral show. It's the exact same animation studio taking that over and applying it to the Rugrats character models. And I'm like, Rugrats literally, in like the way that they used color weird in the original Rugrats show, and this is more or less a standard. And I'm glad that there's more Rugrats. I'm definitely curious if I thought I saw Kimmy in one shot. I thought I saw her in one. I really hope they didn't cut Kimmy as a character.
Which one's Kimmy?
Chucky's stepsister.
The African American one.
The Asian American one.
Asian American. She's in this. I definitely saw her. I made a note being like, oh, cool. They kept her. Yeah,
I'd be really bummed if they cut Kimmy, because I'm like, Kimmy was one of the better, cooler things that they did to have on the show. It was one of the cool things about Rugrats is that the movies moved the show forward, because the first movie brought Dill, and the second movie brought Kimmy and Chucky's new mom.
All grown up.
I was hoping, I was nervous we would lose those elements with a revival. I'm glad that it looks like we won't. But I definitely struggle with, like, I just like the look of the original, the animation style, and this weirds me out a little.
I mean, they got close to that classic Klasky Shupo design, but it just doesn't hit the nail on the head. I mean, part of me is like, cool, more Rugrats, but at the same time, it's like, I guess I'm just way too biased because Rugrats was one of my absolute favorite Nicktoons growing up, and that's like holy ground to me. So
I mean, it's like 25 years later. It's yeah.
You know what you do? Sequel to All Grown Up. Now the kids are the parents.
Yes, Brandon. That's of course. That's obviously what you do.
We were wanting that for a while.
That's what I've been saying.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I wish it had been. Because All Grown Up was cool too. But that original animation style, like the best way I can describe it is grunge. It's a grunge animation style, and I wish that were sticking around. But I still think this has the charm of Rugrats. Mm-hmm. I definitely, when he said "hold on to your bottles," heard "hold on to your buttholes."
Hell yeah!
When I watched it, but it's still cool.
It's the forced edginess.
A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do. It's like, that was good. That was. Man, I remember that.
It definitely doesn't look like I watched Rugrats as a kid. I'm not gonna watch this because I'm not 6 anymore. But like it doesn't look like it's lazy. I'll say that. It looks like they care and they're actually putting effort into it.
I will agree to that. It does not look lazy.
Yeah.
Houston, Ian McGregor, new Netflix limited series.
Yeah, just another interesting true life story. I like the idea of this. Ewan McGregor playing him, I think, is a good choice.
It's a Black Mask prequel.
I want to watch him. I'm glad that this is a limited series rather than a film. I'm interested to see them actually let him develop this over more than one movie's length. It should be cool.
Yeah, I'm obviously not like into fashion or anything, but like any movie or a TV show can be good enough, and I'll get interested in it. Love Ewan McGregor. He looks wacky. 60s, 70s fashion. Liza Minnelli's in it. Like, looks cool.
Yeah.
Heels.
Yeah, good for Stephen Amell. That dude loves wrestling.
Yeah, good for him getting this passion project made. I don't know if it looks like something I'd want to watch, and I'm certainly not going to anytime soon because it's on Starz, and I don't have access to Starz. But good for him.
That dude has been on the WWE like multiple times.
Here's the thing, though. I think wrestling can be pretty cool.
Yeah.
If I hear good things about this show, if I hear enough good buzz, I will go out of my way to watch it at some point. Because I'd like to support that, and I think like his passion for it might make this show pretty good. I'd be interested to see. I really like that it's coming from the angle of him
of the bad guys
as a heel. Mm-hmm. He's a career heel, and what that means, and the impact that he has. It seems like his character is a person who's more passionate about wrestling than the people who play the heroes, but he's always the bad guy. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in that idea.
He's gonna fail the city.
Absolov, End of Gods video game.
So every week, I just type in new game trailers just to see if anything pops up at a random, and I found this. And hey, guys, how do you feel about Techno Vikings? Because I think this looks pretty cool.
It looks all right.
I'm more into horror, so I think it looks pretty.
Haven't we seen this game? Not this trailer, but this game before.
We haven't because it's a PC exclusive that's only coming to PS5 now. I definitely have never seen anything about it.
Let's make Ben play it.
Yeah, it's definitely like ancient mythology mixed with like modern sci-fi technology. Love spooky vibes, like Big Soma, like survival horror vibes.
And you said it's been received well on PC already.
Yeah, so. It's apparently like a really, really good game.
Wait, I'd be down. What's it called? Absolov.
End of Days.
End of Gods.
End of Gods. Which
no, I didn't see this. It's not on the drive.
I'm looking right at it.
Well, I also texted it to the group, so
he did text it to the group too.
It's okay. It's a cool trailer. You're not in the spookies. Stephen King met.
It's okay. It's better that you haven't seen it because we're just going to make you play it.
Oh god, it's going to be too spooky.
Arcane, the animated series, was announced to go to Netflix. We heard this was coming a couple months ago, I guess.
A year ago, they announced that they were making this, and there was like a behind-the-scenes thing with a little bit of a look at like concept art. This is the first time that they're showing anything of what the show will actually look like in motion. They're clearly putting some money into it.
It looks wicked.
It looks like a kick-ass animated series, and if its story is solid enough, I'm down to watch it. I was actually chatting with Pi, a friend of the podcast, Pi and Michael, about it, and it sounds like the intention is for it to be an anthology series. So this first one is going to be about these two sisters, and the next season will be about a totally different character in League of Legends, and that's how they want to move through League of Legends rather than telling a consistent story from season to season to season. It's going to anthologize the characters of League of Legends. I never really got into that game, but I did think the character designs were sweet as hell.
Yeah. So Brandon, you watched Dota, Dragon's Blood.
Yeah.
Dota and League of Legends are the same game. They are the exact same type of game. It's a MOBA where you have 3 lanes and you're trying to go defeat the towers on the opposite opponent's team. Not much of a story again, but like it is this entire lore and universe behind it. And now they are crafting this beautiful animated show. And I'm like, so weird. Again, with Ark is also getting a cool animated show. Like all of these multiplayer focused games are getting like really dope animated shows, and it's like
this is the really kind of thing. Weird. This is the kind of thing I want to see from Overwatch.
Yeah. Oh,
especially with this kind of like budget to the animation. Like that animation looks great.
Yeah. And we only got like a couple seconds of it, but it looks sick.
It looks like more than just cinematic game animation. It looks like it's a style all its own, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. A Quiet Place Part 2 final trailer.
We reviewed it, so whatever.
That's true.
Can't wait for everybody to see that sound cannon.
Hell yeah! Remember Sonic Cannon? So how crazy is that, guys?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what else can be said about it more? It looks good.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
In the news this week, they were talking about John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are pursuing Paramount for more money because when they made A Quiet Place Part 2, they agreed to take a smaller payment up front to make it in promise that they would make stuff off the box office returns. But now that Paramount has cut the box office time down to 45 days before being released on Paramount Plus, they're like, you need to give us more upfront now. That's an interesting thing that's developing because of the streaming service stuff that's happening. Just another notch in that,
gotta get them paid.
which is wild.
Get that money.
But yeah, the movie still appeals to me. I want to see it. I definitely
Last of Us vibes hard.
I definitely kind of didn't want to see as much of this trailer as I did, but that's okay.
It's just like it's again because like after an entire year you have to rebuild the hype, but like this I didn't really feel like I saw anything new, but at the same time there was new footage.
There's definitely there's definitely like a whole action sequence that had never been shown before that I'm like I was better off not knowing that existed.
I know there's monsters in it. You got shown.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get a new James Bond trailer in a day now.
Oh my god, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta start watching those Daniel Craig movies.
I've seen them.
I gotta watch them again. I've never watched, what was the last one? Spectre?
Spectre.
Yeah, I've never seen that all the way through because I fell asleep in the theater.
Makes sense.
100%.
Don't blame me.
All right, shall we move into our main topic?
Do we want to just briefly touch on Stranger Things?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of a nothing.
I mean, clearly it's going to be about the other kids, is what they're telling us.
Yeah, the X-Men.
It's just nice to see some Stranger Things traction after so long.
It's nice that because like I feel like it's been a while since we last reviewed the season.
Yeah,
almost 2 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, because it was 4th of July, 2019.
Wow.
Man, yeah,
2 years. Wow, yeah.
Those kids are gonna be old.
Oh my god, they're all gonna have mustaches and have deep voices.
Oh my god, Dustin!
Especially Millie Bobby Brown, big thick mustache.
Oh yeah, deep sideburns. Hell yeah.
Oh god,
She's gonna have like the Nolan Grayson mustache. She's like, so.
She's 8 feet tall.
All right, main topic.
Yeah.
Legacy time.
My parents are finally going to bed, so maybe no more interruptions.
Hot dog. I've been saying that way too many times today. I'm sorry. Let's get the hot dogs
okay.
out of
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about Jupiter's Legacy, kind of our famous segment where we compare the first episode, right? Just the first.
Yeah, I watched episode 2 just to get a little more, but it doesn't really add too much. I don't think.
I wanted to put more time into the episodes this week, and I just frankly didn't get to.
Yeah.
So, but you did watch the first, though.
I definitely watched the first episode. I started the second episode. I got 10 minutes in, and it was late at night last night. And I'm like, I got too much to do today. I gotta go to bed. And if I'd gotten home earlier, I would have watched more, but it didn't happen.
And Ben, you watched the first?
I watched the first. I was too busy watching Invincible to watch the other ones.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the first volume of the graphic novel now. Full disclosure, for those of you who have not seen the Fake Nerds Watch episode where I also explain this, but Jupiter's Legacy Volume 1 is currently reprinted as it is Jupiter's Circle Volume 1 has been reprinted as Jupiter's Legacy Volume 1. In the current way that you can find the trades, we are talking about the first volume of Jupiter's Legacy, which is Mark Millar and Frank Quitely.
Yep. The original book.
Yes. In relation to the first episode of the Netflix show that is out now.
How many episodes have you watched, Brandon?
I've watched 2.
Okay. So spoilers for the first 2 episodes and 5 issues of the comic.
Yeah.
Man, we're not going to barely talk anything about the show compared to the comic in terms of plot stuff happening, because, man, that comic.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. Some comic background. It was not meant to be a 5-issue miniseries. It became one when Frank Quitely fell behind.
Man,
you can tell.
Like that 5 issues feels like a 20-issue arc, like a 20-issue like full series, because there's like straight up full time jumps. There are like character developments, and then like the development turns into the action immediately. Like it is so fast. And it's something that I actually really found myself appreciating about the show, is that it's actually taking its time.
Someone described Mark Millar's comics as often spec scripts for larger projects that he clearly wants to be like films or television shows. And I don't think anything we've ever read has felt more like that than this.
Uh-huh.
And I can't express to you how much I just don't care for what Millar was putting in the page on that book. Nothing was developed well enough for me to give a crap about it, and the basic concept is cool, but the idea of execution behind it, I absolutely 100% disagree with.
Yeah.
So I hated it.
And it's such a bummer, because I am more positive on the comic, but it in a way I'm even going to be more negative, because I think Mark Millar, he is successful. He is a successful comic writer, and like he does do some things that work well, but also his gross politics just get in the way of it. And he has some really cool ideas that I do think work for a comic book that get translated better in the show. But then, man, he's just some of the things.
Jupiter's Legacy is definitely the reading that comic was the first time I was like, oh, Mark Millar's mad about something.
Yes.
The politics about in our world.
Yeah.
He is mad. I'm not quite sure which side he's mad for, but
That's
he's
the
mad.
problem. That's the problem. He makes both sides have like the goods and the bads, and like he's very centrist about it, but he kind of is leaning towards one side if you look at it.
He's definitely criticizing the Obama administration specifically in the book.
Yeah.
The implication in the subtext of the book is that everything was fine till the Obama administration started, which is definitely not true. That administration is worthy of criticism, but they definitely didn't start that fire.
I think the main problem with the book is it's something I always talk about real estate, but it chugs through the story so fast. You have no time to develop any of the characters. I liked the first 2 episodes of the show I watched. I didn't love it. I think it was good. And what I liked about it is how it just took its time with the characters, because in the comic, you're introduced to the utopian and how he's like the Superman ideal, and how he's super strict. But then like by issue 3, the dude's dead already. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't really get to see the extent of what you saw. Like, I can't just take your word on it. I need you to show me more. And I think the show is doing such a better job about that.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the thing that I don't think this book is structured really well. I said that this book doesn't feel like it's supposed to be a 5-issue miniseries because of the fact that Utopian dies in issue 3.
Yeah,
that is if this was a 5-issue miniseries, Utopian should have been dead by the end of issue 1.
Exactly.
We should have been focusing on the other characters.
And then you get the crazy time jump, which would have been an entire volume of a story on its own, but it's 2 issues. It's like 1.5 issues.
Do any of you care about what happens after the time jump?
No.
Right.
To be fair, I like the kid.
No, I like
the kid, but I don't care about anything else.
Like what is even America at that point? They spend so little time on it. Like, we get one scene of Brandon and Walter in the White House, and that's the only reference to like what has happened with them.
They don't explain what happened to the president or anything.
It's just nothing. And like the implication that
the smartest thing the show did was take the whole comic and turn the entire season into the first 3 issues. That's why I'm excited to actually continue watching the show, so they can build on the stuff that I do like. Because I do think, so we can talk about the show a little bit, I do think Josh Duhamel, he's not a guy I particularly care for in a lot of things. You know, he's a boring white dude. I like him in this show. I think he's doing like the old school Superman. Like, I have an ideal and I got to keep it this way. Like, I buy that. And I buy Chloe so much more in this show than I do in the comic.
Yeah.
200% more.
Yes.
When I was reading the book, because I read the first issue when it came out when it first came out years ago, and I just dropped off. I'm like, well, whatever. I think I borrowed it off of Brandon. But then I'm rereading this. I'm reading it. I'm like, wait, he dies in issue 2. Like seeing the mom dead in issue 3, and seeing Lady Liberty die, and seeing Utopian die, and then we jump like
we
10
just
plus
met.
years.
We just met Lady Liberty.
Yeah, and
we kill her in the same scene.
And seeing him jump 10 years, I'm like, okay, this is like, what is going on here? This is going to break.
So jarring. That 11-year time jump is like, I read this comic when it came out, and I completely forgot about that. That's so crazy.
Now, because it comes too late in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now watching the show, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, now I can see why Brandon's gonna hate his dad.
I like my dad. He's all right.
No, so we're watching Invincible, and Invincible has so I guess spoilers for the first episode of Invincible. Also the comic where he kills like all the Guardians, right? That's like a big moment. Mm-hmm. That's the big moment of this comic book too, but it happens in issue 3. And I think the smart thing that the show is doing is it is slowly going to build to the confrontation of, are you going to kill your father to restart America? And the trajectory of the show is already infinitely better than the comic could ever be, because it's taking its time. So I get to understand these characters, and like the stuff with Black Star, that scientist guy, he shows up in episode 2 mm-hmm. for stuff too. But like all that stuff is so much better. And it's like also so insignificant in both the show and the comic, but like at least in the show I kind of care about it a little bit because they keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the comic book was such a frustrating read. I also kind of struggle to call the show an adaptation because you erase some names out of there. That show might as well not be based on that comic at all.
It definitely is.
It is. I think it's so much better, and that's why the problem is it's hard to call an adaptation because it's like so much better than.
My biggest problem. My biggest problem is, because that wasn't the point I wanted to get to. The biggest problem I have with the show is I've seen this better everywhere else, and I don't really care.
Oh, that's fair. I 100% agree. This is one of those situations where not everything has to be a 10, and I think this is good enough. Where especially it's so much better than the source material. I think the stuff that's in the comic, the ideas are good enough that if translated to the show will be really good show stuff. Right. And the first 2 episodes have given me, especially episode 2, Brandon. It's not a big spoiler. I don't care what you talk. Yeah, there's a conversation between Chloe and her dad that's not in the comic in episode 2. That's really good. That's a real conversation about a father and a daughter. It's very much like the Mitchells versus the Machines, just 2 people who just cannot connect with each other. And it's just a really great conversation that like is nowhere in the comic because Mark Millar is not about like substance or like layers.
No, I am glad because like everything in the comic about like his kids being put upon by him is all just tell not show.
100%.
And it's just garbage. His son is put upon, but like we'll never explore why. And his daughter's overdoses on Doug's and is put upon, and she's like, I'm a cliche, but I'm not. But I totally am a cliche. And I'm like, I can't take any of that seriously. Yeah. But like, in the comic, there's no criticism of like not any exploratory criticism of the fact that he's a bad dad, that he failed in the way that he needed to be there. And there's no. And this is the part that concerns me about the show. So I'm going to go, give me a moment. My least favorite thing about do you need to do this? Go ahead.
You said overdoses on Doug's, and it was really funny.
It was pretty funny.
The worst thing about the comic to me is that Walter's criticisms about how they should use their powers to help establish a new system because the system can't be trusted to function through itself. Speaking as people who live since 1929 and know that the system doesn't just fix itself, and that the Utopian just pushes back on that and says no. And Walter has that excellent line where he says, why would we just trust it to them? Just because they were put into office doesn't mean that they're automatically experts and smarter than the rest of us. And he's 100% right. And that's where this becomes a flag smasher situation, which that's obviously very present on my mind from Falcon and Winter Soldier. But this is where Walter's stance is 100% correct. The system is broken. It needs to be fixed. He has ideas for how to do it. And the utopian's like, no, because he's so married to the idea of America cannot be a failure. It never could have been. So therefore, it will balance itself out. That's the most interesting criticism that could happen, that concept. And the exploration of it is terrible, because what should happen is that I wish the story was about challenging the utopian being so stuck to those ideas, which is essentially saying challenging America to being married to its old ideas of the past, of how heritage has moved on. And it's like, we should keep all our old traditions because, without any actual good reason, and ignoring how it has caused issues for others. And the book isn't interested in actually tackling that, because instead what it does is justify the utopian entirely and say, well, here's the thing though, Walter definitely has the right ideas, but he's also got to do a murder, and therefore he's the bad guy. And when he does get into power, then he will implement the ideas. It'll go great for a couple of years, and then it'll fall apart, because guess what? He's not a politician, and that should be left to the politicians. Because they're the experts. Because they're the experts, and he was wrong, and now they're just an evil empire. And I'm like, wow, I can't hate that more.
And again, in episode 2, they go into that even more. Walter and Sheldon have a conversation, and they move it from like a couple years ago to now, and they talk about like, we have Nazis walking around who don't call themselves Nazis. Like, they're the problem. Like, it's very much Walter's situation of like, we're rescuing, we're taking care of bank robbers when we should take care of politicians. And he's right. And the show is just doing all this so much better. And it makes me so mad, because like this comic sells so many copies.
But they're still definitely like framing Walter very clearly as like a bad guy.
Yeah.
And like it's foreshadowed hardcore. And like, that's the thing, is like, the show's still going to do that beat. It's still going to do that thing where he's going to be the guy with the right ideas, but he just takes it that one step too far, and then oops. And I'm like, I'm not here for that story. I hate that idea. And I hate the idea that the utopian not only goes unchallenged, but goes vindicated. And the fact that the show is probably going to run that exact same gamut in some way of saying, like, essentially validating his old ass ideas. And that's the worst part, is like, where you have his kids saying, like, you know, kind of because of how stuck in his ways he was a terrible dad, and it's like, yeah, but it was great that he was stuck in his ways, because good America. And I'm like, no, man, no. I hate it so much. And I can't get over that. Like, the option didn't have to be murder. Why didn't Walter just keep helping the government, then force Utopian to have to physically intervene? Then Utopian's the bad guy again. I don't understand how it's not that story. And I mean, I do, because Millar's a conservative man,
Scottish man, talking about America.
It's still like,
again, episode 1 has the murder of Black Star, and immediately the Utopian's like, why did you do this? You could have flew him into the sun. You could have done something else. You don't have to be this guy. And that is a very Superman thing. And again, I think the show is just, it's doing everything that the comic wants to do, just better. But even though some of those ideas are bad, like, it's still got to translate those, unfortunately.
There is the unfortunate side effect that, because it is a different writer trying to kind of keep Utopian's voice, Utopian does not have the same stance he has in the comic. He is split between Mark Millar's stance and Stephen S. DeKnight's stance. When in that scene that you're talking about, when we go to the Union in episode 2, when he's talking to Walter, the Utopian and Walter are on the same side for half that conversation. They're agreeing.
Yeah. And
then Walter, and then they're not, but Walter's still saying the same things, but now Utopian is speaking Mark Millar's words and not Stephen S. Knight's words.
Well, it's because then it turns into the conversation of like, well, our old ways are bad and maybe we should be in charge. And Utopian's like, no, and then it's the stupid conversation.
But that switch doesn't make sense, because up until now, Utopian was like, yeah, there's Nazis in the streets. And Walter is the one who says they're not Nazis. And he's like, they're Nazis.
Yeah.
He doesn't say they're not Nazis. He says they don't call themselves Nazis.
Sure.
I just want to be specific. Like Walter's still, like, they're definitely leaning more towards the foreshadowing of him being the bad guy he is. And I at least appreciate that, like, they feel like brothers, because good God, in the comic, has that not come across?
No, there's no familial bond between any of them. I quite like the acting in all the shows. I think the worst actor is Brandon, like the son. I think he's pretty wooden, but like, I think Chloe is a really, like, this doesn't sound bad, she's a really good like drug addict. Like, she's a really good like version of that type of person. Like, it's really convincing. And again, like, she's bringing so much more that the comic doesn't add to it, where it does make me excited to watch more of it.
out of all the characters, Brandon was the one who just felt, not you, Brandon.
I know. Just
Pluto. What's his name? Yeah, the
Paragon.
Paragon. Yeah.
Yeah, Paragon. Thank you. Yeah, Paragon was like, I didn't like his acting at all. I thought he was kind of bad.
Yeah, he was.
Whereas I love Lady Liberty in this, probably because in this show, outside the book, it's like, oh, I actually get character development. I actually see who she is instead of her welcoming home Chloe and then dying 2 pages later. I love seeing Chloe fly home. You can tell she's on something, and she's pretty loopy, and then she leaves. It's like, oh, this is better than the 10 seconds I saw her in the book, or the very short amount of time I saw her in the book before the time skip. And even seeing Paragon lose the fight to that one lady who kind of reminded me of Machine Head a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you see Utopian come in and say, "You're paying for this. Is like, you messed up. You shouldn't have done this, and also this is on your bill."
Yeah,
I was like,
if we're gonna get an entire season of that instead of like a 1.5 issues of like, why are you so mad at your dad, then like the buildup will be worth it. And again, like the Walter stuff might not work out in the end, but if you're gonna give me like 15 issues worth of buildup instead of 2, then like maybe you'll be onto something there. Because like, I like the idea of like the older generation versus the younger, but like, just get Mark Miller out of here and let's do someone else do it.
If I had not read the book, I probably would continue with the show.
I'm still gonna. I think it's okay enough.
I think it's unfortunate that the show still has to be trapped in certain things, like that I'm still supposed to be trying to relate to a Wall Street businessman from 1929 and how he's grown up with his old ass rich ideals and what he thinks America is, and I still can't get on board with that. I think Brandon said it really well with him being torn between the two voices. My biggest problem with the Utopian in the show, just from like the one episode in like 10 minutes of the second episode I watched, is that he comes off as centrist now. Yeah. Which at least in the comic, like he was right, and like he was right leaning. And the thing is, at least I gave something to push back against. And in the show, I'm like, you just stand for kind of altruism, but blindly. Yeah. And I don't think that's really a character.
And I think that's what Walter, again, like, which is said better in the show. Yeah. Walter's like, don't you even realize how repetitive you sound? Like, you keep saying the same things over and over again and nothing changes. And I think that's something that even like the comic doesn't recognize.
Right, but I mean, like he's so centered that like he'll acknowledge that, like, because I think that our climate is not something where you actually can put out something where you say like America is flawless anymore. He won't say that. He won't go that far. He'll admit that America has flaws. Yeah. But he still says basically it's in the best hands of the people that it possibly could be. That's true, it's like, ugh, you can't be this guy. He's Biden the superhero, and I'm like, meh.
So I just want to be positive on the comic a little bit, and it's only for Frank Quitely, because Frank Quitely is definitely an artist. Like, for people are hit or miss just because of his style. He draws very detailed, ugly people, and you just don't get a lot of people who are willing to do that. So that's something I appreciate. I think the action in this book, for the most part, is really, really good. There's specifically a scene, I think it's in the future, I don't remember because I took a lot of pictures, where there's this guy named, what's his name, Barnabas. He's Barnabas Wolf, and he goes to meet a supervillain who's been hiding in this building, and he asks her all these questions, and she's like, yes, no, yes, and he's like, oh, that's really cool, yeah. And then he's like, oh, can you tell me about all your coworkers? And she turns around, all the coworkers are asleep because of poison gas, and the only 2 superheroes are remaining, and that's how she gets found out. And that's a great scene, and she jumps out of the building and grows full size. Like, Frank Quitely does some great action. There's the fight with Chloe and that guy, and he can like manipulate matter and stuff. So he's making like glass like boxes, and she's breaking into it. The art's really, really good. There's the boyfriend Jason who can teleport. He teleports a train into like a bunch of soldiers. Cool shit. Like, I have no concerns or problems with the art. I just wish I enjoy reading it.
Definitely talking about the comic, I do want to spotlight like the moments that I really liked are
that's like a Spider-Man moment.
Like the kid being told, okay, look, we know who you are. There are people hurting on the bridge, like, go out the back. And then he goes and they're talking to the bullies, and they're like, the door fell off, you understand? You understand that the door fell off. And then I also really love the moment where he says, your mom can't even hear you, and she's like, mommy is always listening. And you see like all the panels of her like zipping through everyone, which I think looks really great. And those are some awesome moments. And that's kind of it.
That's about it.
I definitely want to talk about, like, this is the prime example of, like, my problem with how Walter is written, which is he's describing when he's talking to Brandon in space, and he's describing, like, parts of his plan. And it's like, yeah, climate engineering. And I'm like, solid. Eliminating income tax. Great. Underground homes, man, solving homeless problems. That's fantastic. A ban on all religions. God damn it. Always that one step too far.
See, when I was like a 14-year-old edgelord atheist, that's what I used to think. But then, you grow up and realize people can do what they want. That is the one where you're like, oh, come on, man.
And that's the part that just really, like, just makes it so hard for me to be able to get on board with the comic, is that I'm like, if you have someone who is clearly saying all the right things about, like, what are the issues of the country, and just being told, like, nah, America just fixes itself. Stop it. Shut up.
Man,
from the Superman allegory. And it's like, oh my God, just challenge him without murdering him. What are you doing?
Yeah, it really makes me wonder, because the way that all the superheroes turn on the utopian in this comic, it's like brutal, and like it's like an entire community coming to kill the old guard. And the show right now, I'm very curious if it's going to go in the same trajectory, because right now it doesn't. I don't have that vibe. But again, it has such a longer build up that maybe it actually builds to it and it works out.
I feel like the show won't vilify him the way that on some level the comic was, because, like, the thing is that you do have that group that comes and kills the utopian, and they're saying, like, you should have seen this coming. Like, the way that you have run things, you've been too restrictive of everyone.
Yeah.
He has stopped people from Adam Eving problems. He's just flat out said, no, don't get involved, and all that kind of crap. And I don't think the show's going to go that far with it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to put it into a place where you can kind of look at the utopian and say, like, yo, man, you actually are the problem. I don't think they should murder you, but you are the one getting in the way. And I mean, like, it's a problem in the book too. Like, that's what it should have done. Like, they jumped to murder way too quickly. Like, it should have been, hey, we could all just, like, do the thing and let's see what he freaking tries.
That's because Mark Millar's, like, go-to is just instant murder. He's a murder man. Do
you like the female characters in the comic? What female characters? Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah. There is that. I do like that interaction. I guess, like, the comic is basically the same, but, like, as they're fighting Black Star, there's a dude with the fire hands. He's like, I'm just waiting in the back. I can't fight this guy. I'm gonna wait and then get the last punch in with a photo op. I think
that dude dies,
and then he gets exploded by Utopian. Yeah. I guess honestly the worst part of the show is the action. Like, it's not dynamically shot. Like, it is kind of CW-ish, but, like, I do think the writing is good enough, and I think the acting is pretty good by all the actors. I really like Walter in the show.
I do too.
I
think
really
he's a great
like.
actor. There's some really good performances happening there for sure.
I like Leslie Bibb. I don't see her in enough stuff though. Like,
agreed.
I will probably give it another couple episodes, because, like, I think it's good enough. At least better than the comic, which I did not expect.
It's definitely weird that they kill two heroes of color in the first episode. Black Star killed two.
The same weapon.
People of color.
That's right.
And I'm like, okay, that's choice.
Do they die in the comic? I don't even remember. Are they in the comic?
Nobody dies in the, like, nobody that we clearly, like.
Oh, they're not even in
the comic.
That's different. Yeah,
they handle that totally differently.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
They're creating in the show. They're creating totally new superheroes, which is interesting, because we don't get superhero names outside of Utopian, really, in the comic. And we don't even get Paragon in the comic, because he's not a superhero in the comic.
That's true.
In the show, they're making up all these, like, they created a Justice League. They're making up all these new names. I'm sure they're using Superhero Circle for some of the older ones. The comic has I have a hard time connecting to the comic, because it does this thing that we should have assumed what happened in the time between 1929 and the present. And that's fine, but you don't tell me, like, who your comrades were. And the show kind of has a similar problem right now, at least in the first two episodes. I'm hoping, if I do kind of like that more in the show, that we're going to see more of the Union.
There's no explanation in the comic why there are people that aren't part of the group that went to the islands, families that have powers.
Yeah,
it's never explained. Just suddenly, and then everybody had power, and I'm like, what?
I wonder if that's something that is explained in the next volume, where, like, once whatever happened on the island, it was basically almost like an X gene that activated or something.
Yeah.
Again, and also, like, very odd to have like the reason you go to this island be like an ancient alien race who wants America to thrive. I don't think that's actually what it is, but like it's just
Oh man, that he says that line like more than once.
They want to make America great.
I'm like, that's not good.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
In the book he constantly talks about how it's like they want to fix our country. It's like, why not fix the world,
not
dude?
Fix, save.
Yeah. It's like they want to save our country. It's like, okay, look, the United States of America back in 1929, things were not good. I get it. But also, not just America suffered. The entire world suffered in that time period.
Yeah.
So,
something that, again, the show, I don't think you got, because I kind of wish you just wanted to watch episode 2 because it was only 30 minutes long, but I understand. You might have saw it, but like Walter's talking about how he wished he could have done more in World War II, and that already fleshes out that character. He wants to do more.
That's episode 1.
Oh, is that episode
1?
Yeah, I just don't remember. But like again, Walter is already a little more fleshed out, so like I could see why he eventually becomes the bad guy. But like, man, in the comic, it's
even then he's saying the right things. He's like, I regret that we didn't get more involved in World War II, and that's the thing. Is like you need to be demonizing the utopian for saying, don't do this with your powers, and it's like you are literally stopping them from helping people.
Yeah,
like you are like he is an allegory for America in a way where it's like you can't do that. You can't help people that way.
I think it will be because like, we don't really have this in the comics. They just kill him. I wonder if there will be almost like an Avengers Civil War situation where like they have to go do something, and the utopians like, no, we can't do that, and then it's like this is the final straw. We have to take them out to save the world. And that's something I can buy in a Watchmen-esque scenario that Alan Moore would do better.
That's what I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like, I'd want it to be that
like
Walter and the rest of them just kept ignoring him, saying, don't get involved. Mm-hmm. And then Utopian was the one who instigated too much, trying to stop them. They're like, yo, you gotta, like, let us help people or we're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Like, you are actively the problem. Which is what the story should be. It's like begging to be that.
Yeah. Something that telepathy and mind powers are some of my favorite stuff in comics that in movies and stuff don't really get utilized, because how do you conceptualize being in the mind space? And they just do it exactly from the comics where Walter basically puts you on a beach. Like, oh, this is where I spend my summers as a kid. And like, we're destroying your body right now, but like your mind doesn't know what's happening. That's like a really cool, like Jean Grey, like X-Men, like telepathy thing that you don't get to see very often. And I'm like, I really appreciate that. Telepathy is a cool power.
I do know that some of the rest of the season does like explore more the concept of, how right is it, like where they've centered the kind of argument that's breaking apart the family. Really what's going to drive the rip between Utopian and Paragon is the notion of, is killing ever necessary as a superhero? And I'm like, that's a really weird hill to go to right now, because in some ways they're trying to make us feel like Paragon made the right call because he was saving his dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is weird when you're treating them like authority figures, which is basically analogous to cops killing people on the job.
Yes.
And we're entering like super bizarre territory. So they're like trading one political argument for another that I don't know is a trade up. Where they come out any better for doing it.
I do. I wonder if it's even going to be a mystery, because like the Black Star in the show is killed, but it's not the Black Star that's actually
right. Because the second episode they go and they find like they're talking to him, and it's like, yeah, that's a copy of me. That's what made me like at the end.
I like
of the
that
first
scene a lot.
I'm like, all right, you got me. Like that's
so
pretty cool.
Ben, so Black Star, like he's like you see this big fight, and he's like this big monster, but that's not the character. He shows up.
No, he shows up at the table and sees his dead body, and that's where the episode ends.
That's right. I think the show also has weird ways it ends the episodes. It's not very It's like not traditional. Like it kind of just ends in the middle of a scene.
Yeah, it ends the episode where he looks at like a copy of him essentially.
Yeah.
And then,
in episode 2, it's at the beginning, but like he puts on scientist glasses, and he's like very like meticulous and like not the character you think he is. And that's what immediately put me on the show. Like, oh, this is not from the comic. This is cooler than the comic. And now there's a mystery of like, who's doing this? Are they trying to take out superheroes? Blah, blah, blah. I wonder if Walter's involved. Like, I'm already more invested than I ever was in the comic.
For sure. Show's definitely doing more development work.
Yeah.
I just really didn't care for the book.
No,
it is a terrible execution of what could be a cool concept, but it goes completely in the wrong direction.
So we've read a lot of Mark Millar's comics that have become things. Is this the worst one?
In my opinion, the Mark Millar things I've read, yes.
Wanted, I haven't reread Wanted.
Are you talking about adaptation or just thing he's written?
No, just the book, because all of his adaptations are better. All the movies are better.
Of the ones I've read, probably it's my least interesting.
Yeah. because Kick-Ass is like, I think it's good. I think it's fine. Secret Service is fine. We read that. I think it's fine.
This book actively made me upset while I was reading it, so I definitely don't like it.
Man, I gotta tell you, if it wasn't Frank Quietly's art, like I don't even know, like this book would just be like nothing to me. Like I think the art's like, I love Frank Quietly, so like I at least have some connection to the book. But like if it wasn't him, this would be like one of the worst books that we've read on here.
Normally, I'm kind of turned off by Frank Quietly's art, but this is the one book where I'm like, man, thank God Frank Quietly is here, because the rest of the book, I'm just reading this like, okay, wow, that's quick. Wow, we're in the future now. Okay, well at least the kid's cool. I like
that time jump, man.
Yeah, the adaptation thing is really interesting because this is still continuing the trend of his adaptations being better. I think the only exception is Wanted. Kick-Ass 2. It's pretty bad.
Wanted is a much better movie than the comic, I promise.
Oh, but I just know it's not really anything like the comic, and I've never read the comic, so I can't really say.
I'm sorry. I just means in terms of quality. Every movie or show that has been based on a book is better than the comic, is what I mean.
Is Kick-Ass 2 the comic really that bad?
No, but but Kick-Ass is a good movie.
He means Kick-Ass 2 to
I didn't.
Kick-Ass 2 the movie.
Oh, I didn't read it, but I'm sure it's fine.
Kick-Ass 2 the movie is probably a little worse than the comic.
It's probably comparable, but I mean, is this like it's crazy that his movies are always better.
I mean, Sparks talked about it. They're basically pitch pieces for movies. Ben, you want to say something?
Refresh my memory. Did Mark Millar write Superman Red Sun?
Yeah.
Yes.
He has done good stuff. It's just mostly in the past.
I do want to mention some things about the show. Not to derail too much. I really like the costume design in the show. I think it's really cool. Yeah. Especially the Utopians costume, I think it looks really cool. Translated to live action.
I don't think they show them at the best angles all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make them look cheap by the way that they frame them and light them. Yeah. And that bummed me out because I saw close-up pictures on Twitter of people sharing like the detail in the costumes, and I'm like, man, that doesn't show in a lot of the shots.
Lady Liberty,
bummer.
I like Lady Liberty a lot.
Yeah. And that just kind of goes. I don't think the show is shot very interestingly. We talked about the action sequences being really boring, boringly shot anyway.
Yeah.
I do have a small issue, and I want to stress a small because I don't want us to get into a tangent about it. I don't like the old age makeup.
Oh, I've seen better, I've seen worse. Yeah.
And Josh Duhamel's wig is awful.
His beard is awful when we first see it.
Oh, the first beard when the flashback's pretty bad, but I think the modern one's pretty good.
The one we see for the rest of the show, not bad. The first one just looked, they just like put spear gum on his face and just like threw stuff at him.
It's pretty bad.
It was like, ugh.
I would definitely rather have the actors playing both versions, but I do agree.
Same.
Like the older look doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But I am glad that they're playing both versions.
I am too. I was totally into that. I was just
I know. I'm not saying that you're saying that doesn't work for you or anything. I'm just saying like that's. I will. In problems with the show, I will forgive old age makeup for having the actors playing the same parts, because that's not high ranking on my biggest issues.
I love the look of the 1929 stuff. I think like the steel New York City looks good.
I love Walter's mustache.
Yeah. I mean, I love going back because
the 1929 stuff is the most interesting for me on the show.
I find like especially in episode 2, like Josh Duhamel like really like charming. Like when he's like walking through the steel mill, like, hey, what's up, buddies? I love all you guys. Like I was like, oh, this is charming. I like this guy. Okay.
I think it's better.
He has to care about the poor black man.
Yeah,
working. He cares.
He does.
I
really how he showed it.
Yeah.
I think the flashbacks are handled better in the show than they were in the comic. While I do actually, the only issue that I really enjoyed in the comic was the one where we get like the origin of where the powers came from and going through the island. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. I like the slow build of seeing 1929, the Black Monday, and then going into the seizure that gives them the island flashback. I think that's really, really cool, and I'm engaged in that.
Yeah, and I like that. It's on Netflix. Like the first episode is like 45 minutes, and then the second episode is like 30 minutes. Like it takes as long as it needs to, which I enjoy. Like it doesn't need to outstay its welcome. Yeah, I'm really excited to get to like the Indiana Jones Island stuff because I think the setup is much better than the comic. the setup, how we get there. So I'm
curious. Just it's Jupiter Circle.
Yeah, it's a Jupiter Circle. I definitely anticipated, I guess, just because of like everything I saw, like the show to be worse, and maybe that's just I shouldn't think so negatively, but like I was surprised how okay to good it was. Like, oh, this is actually a good product. Like, it's not the best, but like not everything has to be.
I mean, I didn't hate the first episode, but I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to continue it.
Yeah, there's plenty to watch.
I'm open to like watching more. I am definitely like, I am nervous about down the road them, if I finish the season, that they'll still shit the bed on the American politics side of it. And I know like we're still going to do the same thing with Walter, where like he says the right things, but he goes that extra mile that's in the bad direction, therefore the bad guy. And I'm like, I just am so over that concept. Falcon and Winter Soldier really nailed that thing to the board for me, where I can't take it anymore with Flag Smashers. And so I don't have patience for it. And that's sucky.
I'm very curious because again, this is only like the Jupiter's Legacy is only five issues, even though there's more of that. It looks like I said earlier, like the first season is like the first 3 issues. Like it's not the whole comic. So they really could stretch like this first volume for like 2 or 3 seasons, depending on how much, like if they do want to do a time jump, like that seems like an entirely, like that's something you want to save. Right?
I could see the time jump being the end of the season.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And in that way, I prefer the structure of the show to the comic.
Yeah. I'm definitely, depending on how this week goes, I'm probably definitely going to watch at least the next episode because I am intrigued enough. And I've already started watching it, so I might as well continue it if I like it. Man, Mark Millar, what an interesting guy. what a guy.
Starlight coming soon.
Yo, that one, I'm excited for that one.
That comic was pretty good. I remember I read it a long time ago.
That is we should. I hope that one is still good because I remember liking it too.
Anything else you want to add, or one guy?
Hey, Starlight, the fantasy girl. One no.
It's where the old man, like he's like a space hero.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've read that.
By the way, Sandra Bullock's going to be in Reborn. Did we know that?
Oh, is she? She's the Reborn lady.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I remember liking Reborn in concept, but not in full execution.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much par for the course of Millar.
Yeah. Again, that's another artist where like it really elevates.
Did
that
Netflix make a good choice in getting all the Millar world stuff?
We'll see.
I don't know.
They should have got it before all the good movies came out already.
Right.
Yeah, right. Like
Kick-Ass, Kingsman.
You don't have two of the best possible things.
Yeah. I mean, Starlight honestly might be it because that's like one of his better books.
Starlight's Fox.
Oh, dang.
Starlight wasn't part of the Miller World deal.
Dang, sorry, Miller.
It's like they got all the scraps and they're working with junk, and like they can make nice junk out of junk. But
sure,
like
you're starting from
the origin is still junk.
Yeah. Still junk.
I can't get over it, guys. I really didn't like this comic, and it really, really bummed me out that it made me that angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week you'll have better luck with Ryan's pick.
It's me, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. He's Volume 1, The Man on the Wall, written by Alice Scott, art by Marco Rudy. Can't guarantee the story is great, but at least the art will be dope.
Oh shit, I'm doomed.
No, you'll definitely like this more.
I'm sure I will. Like, it's Jupiter's Legacy. Maybe it just hit me at like the worst possible time, but I had just zero patience.
No, you're right with the 1-2 punch of this and like in Falcon Winter Soldier, like the same type of politics. Yeah.
All right. So stay tuned for that. No book club this week because obviously we just did one. Next week, as far as topic goes, we're deciding. There were talks about Spiral. There were talks about other things. So just stay tuned, and we'll let you know.
We'll have an episode.
There will be an episode.
We'll be here. You'll be here. We'll all be here.
Never leave.
Tell you who definitely is going to be here. Mag's going to be here. He says,
"Thank you, Mag."
Mag always
MVP.
Mag, you're the reason why we're going to keep doing this.
You're the man.
All right, let's get some stuff out of the way. Some plugs. Guys, we put out a lot of stuff. You can check out our other shows on the channel. The new freshman show on the block is Conversation, my solo project where I talk to podcasters, hopefully some of your favorite podcasters. This week was Derek McDuff, another one of my from one of my friends from the Podmates group, which is a Facebook group we're all part of. I'm going on kind of a tour around that group because that was easy guess. But I'm meeting a lot of cool people, getting a lot of fun interviews that I think you guys are going to really like. Derek McDuff is the latest episode. That's linked below, as I said up top, with talking about his podcast and his fandom, the Underrated podcast. It's just called Underrated, but it's hard to say that just as a word.
You can't just say underrated. You got to put context.
Yeah. All right. And of course, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel, and you get a lot of cool stuff on this channel. Hey, like Fake Nerds Watch. There's an Invincible special coming out for Fake Nerds Watch. That'll be up this week. Check that out. Then you can check out our other Fake Nerds Watches. We just finished Falcon Winter Soldier. We've done WandaVision. The next one will probably be Loki. Basement Arcade. Got a Basement Arcade series. And a Basement Arcade Pause Menu, new episode coming out this week. Ben, you just recorded it.
Yes, I did.
And our Fake Nerd Book Club. Probably a couple more weeks until we get the new episode up from there, but you can check out, we just finished Little Char and the Gang. 3 episodes going through, at the time, the entire comic strip. It's a weekly thing, so there's more now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can check out some other links below, such as our Crafted by Z masks, Fake Nerd Podcast masks. You can, fight off the pandemic with a new mask. That's all linked below.
Also, get vaccinated.
Also get vaccinated. Patreon. We have a Patreon. $10 shirt, guys. It's a deal. You know what? I'll say the thing that Mike Matola said. Do the 1 month subscription and cancel. You already get the shirt. You get that shirt, guys.
It's like a free trial, but you still have to pay money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be a new best friend.
Oh, I thought he froze.
Stephen King.
I know. I thought you froze too. I was like, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
If you want to join that club that Ben Magnet is the head of, you know where to go.
And if we sell a certain number of shirts, we're going to get that show on the air, guys.
How many? 15 shirts.
15 shirts. That is the Fake Nerd Podcast guarantee.
At least one episode.
At least one episode of you, all 15 of you, telling Ben what's right about Stephen King, and Ben absolutely telling you you're wrong.
We're gonna do it. We're serious. We do this shit.
Nobody knows Stephen King like Ben.
I actually plugged the T-shirt on Pause Menu.
Good.
And I told Top Loader about the shirt. And
Good. Say it everywhere. Let's sell them.
He thought it was the funniest thing ever.
And you can check out speaking of T-shirts, we have TeePublic. There's so many cool shirts on TeePublic. There's the Basement Arcade shirt. I'm wearing one. I just forgot. I'm wearing one. I'd rather be a fake nerd than a true fan. That's the new shirt. All links below, or you can check out our website, www.fakenerdpodcast.com. Guys, thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to Mag and anybody else who pops into the live stream. You guys are great. Can't believe you do it.
Thank you.
We're actually ending on time. I was surprised. I thought we would be shorter. Thank you to all those people who watched the reruns, and thank you to Jimmy Vellucci for our musics. Sorry, I'm tired, guys. It's been a long week.
Thank you to Jeremy Vellucci for our Instagrams.
For the interim musics to our segments and our intros. He does the intros for all of the Fake Nerd Podcast shows. You've heard his music everywhere, even the new conversation. You can check out his Instagram at Jeremy Vellucci Keyboards, and you can check out his show, Suburban Proctologist. He has a podcast on iTunes, or at facebook.com/Suburban Proctologist Official, or Instagram at SubProcPodcast. Thank you to Mike Matola. Just talk to Mike Matola. We're going to get Mike Matola on. I totally forgot to talk to you. I'll talk to you guys after the show. But you can check out Mike Matola on Instagram and Twitter at Mike Matola. He did our logos and a lot of cool art stuff that we've done trivia for.
He did this logo that's up here in my corner.
He did. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Fake Nerd Podcast, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Ben?
You can find me posting a crap ton of pictures of my new cat at BenMagnet27 on Instagram and Twitter. And also, I write for OldSchoolGamerMagazine.com. No new article up this week because reasons. Hopefully one will come up this upcoming week. Hopefully.
Sparks.
You can find me working hard to catch them all at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Ryan.
Oh my god, you can find me eagerly anticipating the release of Mass Effect Legendary Edition on May 15th. Nope, May 14th. That's this Friday. You bet your ass I'm gonna stream that game until I fall asleep. Oh my god.
It's pretty cool that you can make your own box art.
I don't think you can actually print it. You just have to get it.
Yes, you can.
What?
Yeah, you download the PDF. You download it. It's in the size that you can print it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I looked into this.
Oh, I made one. Oh, spicy. You can find me making my own box art at DJ Tony Snark.
Ryan, you're
They have it.
really
They have
funny.
it formatted and everything.
Because
So
like
it has the proper backend and everything.
I guess I realized you could have printed it, but like, I made it, and it's like I made it for like my phone and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, they designed it to be the correct size.
Steelbook. What?
That's cool. All right, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music and Podcasts, and Pandora. Rate and review wherever you get us. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Until next week, guys, stay fake nerds.